This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a windy, blustery and relatively cool Sabi Sands, Juma. My name is Steve Falconbridge. I'm joined on camera by Davizito, and as you can see in the distance there is lots and lots of cloud with some lightning. We were hoping it's going to come. It's a relatively nice, cool, chilly breeze. We almost thought about putting on a jacket, but it's not that cold. The roof is on because it looks like there is definitely rain. Good news, after a few very hot days, finally some respite from the heat. Don't forget, everybody, this is an interactive safari. We'd love to hear from you. Hashtag SafariLive, or throw your questions in on the YouTube chat stream. Remember the all-important @FC, keeping your questions relevant. Let us know how and what you'd like to talk about. Well, we are going to see if we can find Hosanna this morning. We're coming down to Wetelapan. We had some tracks just crossing the road there. Maybe he's around here somewhere. We're going to have a little scratch around, see where we can find him. There is the pan over there. It is nice and cool, as I said. There's a little bit of wind, so this is a really, really good sort of time and for leopards to be moving around. Not like the last couple of days that have been so overwhelmingly hot. This is actually a nice, cool period. We found a huge herd of impala all hanging around in the open area behind us in quarantine, and we had a little scratch around there, but we didn't see him lurking anywhere. So jump on board. I hope you're all doing wonderfully well this morning. We are hoping that we will get some rain. Very dry grass is needing it, as well as the very empty watering holes. Yay for the rain, everybody. Well, it rained somewhere last night, further south from where we are. We watched a beautiful electric storm on the horizon. You could almost just hear the thunder rolling around, but none of it materialized towards where we are. And, well, waking up this morning, walking out of my room for a change, was actually nice, cool air outside rather than this thick wall of heat that we're normally experiencing. So generally, with a couple days of really hot temperatures, this is kind of what does happen. Go from extreme heat to relative coolness. Patrick, you want to know if birds wake up at the same time every day? Well, generally, the golden rule is with birds is the birds with the best eyesight will start calling earlier because they can see. Birds generally, as soon as they can see, they start calling to sort of define their territory, to keep stragglers of the same species away from what they've demarcated as their territory the night before, meaning I haven't been eaten, I haven't died in the night, I am still here, this is my territory. So the birds with the best eyesight generally are the first ones to start calling, and generally the ones with good eyesight are those that feed on insects such as caterpillars and the like, and so you often hear the woodland kingfisher being the first one to call itself in the morning. And then there's kind of an order to it. Well, I couldn't tell you exactly which ones, but you generally start hearing similar birds first as they transgress from the nightjars and the owls in the evening through to the morning birds. But as soon as the light is like this, generally most birds will start calling. But when it's windy like this, you necessarily can't hear them. All tucked up in their bed, enjoying those last few moments of slumber. As I'm sure you all know, when the alarm goes off on one of those miserable days and you don't want to go outside, that's exactly what happens out here. So the birds won't necessarily call until they can see, because if they do, Patrick, they give away their position to what could be a predator. Okay, well, we're just going to do a little loop around here to see if he came out. because we had some tracks coming from quarantine down into this block, and well, he does like walking down here quite often, so let's go have a look. But in the meantime, Sydney is not far away. He's out on foot this morning, and I'm sure he's enjoying the cool morning.
Look at that. This is quite a very complicated morning. Where I am is very much windy at the moment. I've noticed that there is too much lightning coming from that side. The rain is building. It is raining around here, not very far away from where I am. I can see it from far. My name is Sydney, and welcome to the beginning of the guided walk. I'm traveling with Craig, who is my camera operator. You the best experience, but if this kind of weather deteriorates, unfortunately we have to cut the guided walk very short this morning. Don, hello. So it's going to be very difficult sometimes for me to get the questions because it's very windy here where I am. Yeah, the lightning is getting too much now. I can see from that side. So I don't think we are going to carry on with the guided walk. We will now rather opt to go out on a vehicle. So I can see that my game scout Hebi is also now looking at, he is watching the lightning. So I have heard Tingana somewhere sowing in this area. So, and that was my plan to come and look for him. About 15 minutes earlier, he was sowing somewhere in this direction. So now let's cross over to the Masai Mara, where David is also out at the moment.
Jambo, and a very good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mara. We are going through some rains, and this has been the whole night. And I would say the last 9 hours it has been raining, and not only cats and dogs, but I would say elephants and buffaloes. Well, my name is David as usual, and with me this morning's Archie. Archie, good morning, and please be with us for the rest of the show, and hopefully you're going to brace the rain with us. It's very unusual. We usually get rains, but not this early in the morning. But I think since midnight until now it is still pouring, but hopefully at one point it's going to stop. Remember, our drive, very interactive. Any questions and comments, please bring them through. We'll be happy to talk to you. And feels pretty cold, 17 degrees Celsius, 63 degrees Fahrenheit. My plan today is to look for any lions that I will see. I'm not going to say I'm going to the Sausage Republic, which that's always my destination, because with this rain, it could be quite tricky even to get there. I hope to do that this afternoon, but this morning I want to remain around here because last night we had the Marsh Pride and they had a zebra kill, and what we left was almost a drama coming out between them and the hyenas. So I want to see what is left from that. As I was leaving for the camp, lots of calls from hyenas because that area is not very far from the camp. While this happens, the weather has been quite erratic the last couple of years in Africa, Kenya not being exceptional. And we are going to take it as it comes. You definitely can tell my face is not the normal face because it's still very dark, and we are still using infrared. It could be a bit bright in South Africa, but we are 1 hour apart, so that's why it's a bit dark for me here than maybe where Sydney and Steve are. So here we are in infrared, and should we spot something, we are definitely going to use infrared because it's still too dark just to have the natural light. Sunrise is yet to come. Yesterday we missed it. I was a bit Sad because I didn't see the sunrise. I love sunrises and sunsets. And yes, marshmallow weather, definitely, because yesterday we saw 3 of my friends who were stuck in the marsh, and you'd see their guests in the mud, and they all looked different because what they tried to do was to push their vehicle out of the mud and help the guide move it out. We have lots of black cotton soil here, and when it rains it gets very sticky. So they were pushing, and as the tires were spinning out, they were all like covered with mud. You'd have seen them. You'd think they were medicine men from, some other parts of the world. Well, it's truly marshmallow weather, and let's see how it goes. We have agreed, me and Archie, to be very careful, to stay on the big road, and to make sure we don't get stuck. But because you've got a very good camera, once we have good natural light, we're going to try and bring in and zoom in all our characters this morning. Could be elephants, that's what I'm thinking of. Elephants you can count almost 100%. They're not going anywhere. Lions could take a bit of cover when especially they see like lots of lightning, like what Steve got.
Yes, well, thanks, David. We have got lightning on the horizon. It's very ominous. Very ominous. Of course, as soon as we frame it, it disappears. But it is flashing and crashing down south. But we can't hear it, so it's still very far away. But the wind coming from down there is very fresh, very cool. Oh, just off to the left, Darby. It was a huge bolt. Some amazing lightning happening down south. So the southern parts of the Kruger are getting a huge thunderstorm. Last night and now, it's been going on for hours. We haven't heard too much of it. Hopefully the wind, which seems to be blowing towards us, will... Oh, look at that. That was quite something. The power of electricity. And Carol, it's not too humid at the moment, but the last few days have been very hot, sticky, and uncomfortable, to be honest. But right now, the wind is cooling everything off. It is quite a wonderful morning. We just hope that some rain comes through. But there's a good chance most of today will be overcast and cool like this, and maybe even tomorrow. Maybe there's a big system that's built up, and well, hopefully we'll get some of the rain that has been promised, because it is still very dry in Djuma. Well, we hope it'll be a lake when the storms explode. The soil here, unfortunately, is very porous and it just washes away. But hopefully we'll get some nice rainfall, get all the grasses back, even bringing the ticks with them, I don't mind, just to give the animals some food. Oh, still going. Anyway, we're going to keep having a little look down and see if there's any tracks. This is when it's windy like this is a great time for leopards to be moving around. I had the lions on the property yesterday morning, but they crossed off to the west. But there's an opportunity, I suppose, for them to cross back in. The wind is kind of coming from the right direction to have attracted them in. So we'll do a little bit of a scan around to see what we can come across. Such a contrast, eh, Dave, from yesterday.
Yeah.
Kita, we do get hail. There's not too much hail really that happens in the Lowveld because of the height that we're at, the altitude. We're not very high, but it does happen from time to time. On my way here a few days ago, I came through a huge hailstorm, still in the mountains though. Johannesburg, which is much higher altitude, gets lots and lots and lots of hail at certain times of year. I believe not so long ago while I was in the Mara, they got a lot of hail on the way to Djuma, almost golf ball size hailstones. Now, in South Africa, you have to pay extra for hail cover on your insurance because hail can really destroy someone's vehicle. But I haven't seen hail in the Lowveld before, but the photos that Brent and Seb had a little while ago, they most certainly had them on the way. Dory, you want to know if lightning can start wildfires? Well, it is one of the characteristic, or one of the catalysts, should we say, in the savanna biome of fires. Fires have been known historically to be started by lightning. There was quite a huge amount of that, obviously, throughout history. But you can't take away man's influence on the landscape from the introduction of fire. First of all, lightning would most certainly create a lot of the fires that the savanna has evolved with, but probably in the last 3,000 years or so, a lot of the fires the savannas have experienced have been man-made. Once we harnessed fire from a lightning strike, that is where the evolution of man led us to a very different path to our ape brothers and sisters. But it's not too much grass. I mean, I don't think there'd be a fire in Djuma. There's really nothing to burn here. But in areas where there's been some rainfall and lots of fuel load that has accumulated, lightning can be a problem. Natural phenomenon, of course. Minamu, animals don't really take shelter at all out here. They might just plop down on the ground wherever they might be. I mean, when Noelle was here last year, I can't remember exactly, it was towards the end of our rainy season, we had a huge lightning storm, and she actually, after that lightning storm, found a duiker that had been struck by lightning. It was underneath a tree, a big knobthorn tree. The knobthorn tree took the full brunt of the lightning strike, and she found the duiker with this huge zigzag sort of burn mark across its body. It was clearly dead. So there's really nothing animals can do. They just basically got to hide and suffer it out, you know, just sit down under a tree. Ideally, we've been told when I was growing up, don't shelter under trees in lightning storms because, well, as that duiker found out, don't last very long. Lightning strikes will hit the trees, and if there is enough combustibles underneath, you will have a fire. Emma reckons she'll go under the tree that's just been hit because it never strikes the same place. Well, I don't know. I don't know if that actually is true. It's that old saying, isn't it? Lightning doesn't strike the same place twice. But all over South Africa, thatch roofs are quite a common phenomenon on a lot of houses, and each of them have got a big lightning rod. It's part of insurance if you don't have one, because a good chance your house is going to ignite. Those things get hit, I suppose, more than once. Otherwise, you'd have to have more than one, wouldn't you? Yep. Tall, high points. Oi! Talking about lightning strikes, it's not only lightning that kills trees or damages them. Here you can see that an enormous, what seems to be a knobthorn, has been pushed over or has fallen over because of the, well, I wasn't here to see it, but a really big tree. And it's still alive though. It is blocking our pathway, but it is going to form a very nice different sort of biological thing, because where it was, there was a lot of shade over here, and now that has been pushed over, and now it's going to change the shade dynamic. Obviously, we're going to have to move it off the road at some point. I do apologize about the pole. We do have our roof on because of the looming thunderstorm, but the tree does still seem to be alive, and I wonder if elephants did this or if it was wind. Wind is known to pick up trees that maybe the soil's a bit wet from some rain and the roots are not so strong, and then wind can push them over, especially when they get quite big, get quite top heavy. Anyway, I didn't see it happen. Darby, do you know if this was elephants pushed this over? Doesn't seem to have been fed upon. Still alive though. This is a really big tree. Oh, sorry. Facilitation. Now all the small animals can feed on the leaves. Dirk Dirk, you want to know about giraffe getting hit by lightning? I've never seen it. I had never seen an animal being hit by lightning until that daycare. I know that in Namibia, at a place I had an interview many years ago, they were going to release some wild dogs, and the wild dogs were all under a tree, and they all died with one lightning strike. So I wouldn't be surprised if the odd giraffe gets nailed, but I haven't seen it. You know, there were some dramatic scenes in the Mara with all the giraffe there and huge thunderstorms across the sky, but never found any dead giraffe. Davy, you seen one?
Nope.
Nope. They might be nicely insulated with their hooves. I don't know. I really don't know. It's a very good question. This is the decision time. This is when everything can work out. Davy, you reckon left? You're right. Yeah. Let's go right, because these decisions can always end up with a little bit of luck or professional guessing. Okay, anyway, as the wind picks up and cools us down, we're quite enjoying this cool morning. Let's go all the way back up to the Mara where it is wet and also a little bit miserable in the Sausage Tree Republic.
Well, good luck, Steve Ovo, and hopefully you might be able to catch something. I think it's either yesterday or the other day that you saw the small little Chief Hosanna of Juma while you are on your walk. Hopefully today you're gonna find him again. For me, I would be happy to hear news of Hosanna. Well, in Kenya we have also had our share of flattenings, and of course, just like anywhere else in the world, it has always come with its collateral damage, you know, bringing buildings down and killing people and animals too. But one thing I don't remember in Kenya is lightning causing natural fire. I'm trying to remember anywhere in East Africa where we had such massive lightning that caused fire. Not that I know of, but I know it has, you know, struck buildings, human beings, and killed animals too. Well, that's all about the lightning in this area, and more so in the afternoon. Unlike South Africa now, where Steve and Sydney got the lightning, here our lightning comes more in the afternoon. And I remember the other day we are out here on the drive and we had all this lightning, you know, and lightning normally comes, then thunder falls later on. And what we were doing is every time we would get very big lightning, would request the camera operator just to, you know, power down and just protect our equipment. We have all these antennas, you know, in the vehicle, some going up, 2 in the front and 2 at the back. So what happens is we'll always be very careful that lightning doesn't get into them and, you know, getting into us. But we have always survived and never had an issue. Well, the rains here continue as yet. I'm just hoping at one point they're going to stop, because I'm feeling like I'm in a cocoon here. I'm just like, you know, locked in a small little cell. And I'm looking, or I'm dying for my freedom out there with all my fresh air there and some nice breeze of wind on my face, which I don't have as yet. But it might not take long before we see that. And I'll be so excited. What I want to do today, I thought I'll just forget about the lions that you saw yesterday about around the marsh area, and I want to just drive along the Mara River, because I'll bet it's raining. We'll still get animals that will also still want to go and drink the water in the river. But out here we have a lot of water that has collected because of the rain, a lot of you know, water ponds. Of course, for the herbivores, the grass is very wet now, and of course full of moisture. We may not see as many of them going to the river to drink. But knowing how much, for example, elephants drink in a day, or even buffaloes, chances are, yes, they may get lots of water from the grass or from the lush vegetation that we've got now, but still they may want to go to the river and drink, and maybe chance on that. Tristan the other day was driving along the river and he told me he saw lots of zebras very close to the river, and sometimes as much as the migration is over or gone back to Tanzania, we still have a few of them, few pockets of the wildebeest and zebras that are left behind, and they give us some very wonderful surprises crossing the river. We might be lucky to catch such kind of an experience. Remember, our drive is always very interactive. Should you have any questions or comments, please send them through #SafariLive on Twitter. And you can also keep following us on the YouTube chat stream. So my destination today is to go to the Mara River, but also there's a particular pride of lions that lives in that area called the Paradise Pride. I might be like to see it, haven't seen it for quite some time. Well, meanwhile, as I do that, we'll take you back to South Africa, to Sydney, and he's going to give us his latest update.
I found myself a comfortable vehicle at the moment, as it was not easy to conduct a guided walk this morning, and now I am on my way to the Galago Pen. I'm going to start my trekking there. Maybe we might be lucky this morning with any of these leopards. I've got high hopes this morning. And Nana, I didn't get your question nicely. Nana, the elephants, they do like to play a lot when it's raining. When it's raining, you will see at one stage during the rain, I saw the elephants helping another elephant which got stuck in a very deep, and they managed to push out, but it took almost an hour. They were trying to push that elephant out by all means, pulling him, but they managed to take him out. When it's raining like this, sometimes they go to these water holes, the small water holes that they are starting themselves, and they start rolling there and sometimes get stuck because the soil is loose. So now let's cross over to Steve, who's got some impalas at the water hole.
We do indeed, Sidders. Welcome on the vehicle. We'll both stay away from the rain and the thunderstorms, but, well, not only elephants playing in the rain, we had this small group of male impalas suddenly giving it horns as they chased each other around, and, well, they've suddenly become a little bit camera shy. About 6 or 7 of them. A little bit early for the rutting season, but no doubt there are pheromones in the air that are getting them excited. That individual on the right has broken his horn. Going to count him out of the breeding males in the coming months. There we go, 2 males at the back there, having a little bit of an argy-bargy. Mushi, you want to know about trees here in shallow roots? Some of them do. Some of them have shallow roots, but most of them, generally the roots are quite tall or quite long, depending on, the size of the tree. But generally what you see above ground, you generally see below ground. But in some areas the soil might be very clay dense, which means that the tree that's possibly grown there hasn't been able to establish very deep roots. And yes, that does happen from time to time. We don't have an enormous amount of clay in this area, but there are certain places where clay is quite dominant in the soil layer, and if you do find trees in that layer, it is possible that they haven't developed very deep roots, but invariably they will still produce quite long roots along sort of the surface area of the soil. But generally trees don't get very tall unless they have got tall or long roots, the fever tree being one of those exceptions that's able to grow in very muddy soil, waterlogged, inundated soils where they keep just roots very close to the surface. Is kind of a trait that a couple of the acacia species share, being able to grow quite shallowly in sort of very clay rich soil. That was a knobthorn we saw earlier, so it's possible that knobthorn kept its roots quite shallow. Hello guys, you're interested in us, are you? Semmet impala are very pretty. They're one of those animals that most people just look past and go, oh, another impala. But there's so much about them that is so interesting. I mean, the behavior, the breeding behavior, the fighting behavior, the rut they go through, the coloration, and the funny looking faces, the black spots on the ears, the beautiful three-tone colors, and the lyrate horns, all the coloration that they have, very different, well, the size difference in their front legs and back legs. Their back hips are just spring-loaded to enable them to evade predators at close quarters. And so they run very, very quickly. Also being a mixed feeder. Now, probably the most adapted antelope we have around, and most certainly the most successful. So we need to give them credit for their survival adaptations. Chloe, no, impala, antelope, all antelope have got horns that grow constantly through their life. It's not a seasonal thing like deer and reindeer that develop antlers. That's a very different format altogether. These are sort of ossifications on the skull that grow from the head and covered in chitin on the outside, which is the actual horn. There we go. Still going to get a little bit excited here. It's very windy. I don't know if you can tell that, if you can hear it, but you can see the magic guarri tree there really moving in the breeze. So nice to be having movement of air. And the air has been so thick and sticky, and now it is moving very nicely. And all the animals know that these conditions bring the rainfall. And having cool days like this is one of the ways and means that these animals are able to survive in such hot climates. If it was hot like it has been the last couple of days, very, very hard to really get by in life. But these cool days with some rainfall generally is very exciting, because if we get a day or two of sort of light, gentle, drizzling rain, that is what benefits the grasses so well, because unlike the trees that generally have a very long roots that access the water table, grasses are looking for the water that seeps very slowly into the sort of low-lying levels of the soil, and that's where they do very, very well. That's why you can see most of the trees around are all very, very green, because they have access to the water table, where in most areas the grasses are still quite dormant due to, well, lack of sufficient gentle surface rain. Come on guys, give us one more show. Okay, well, we're going to move on from these impala. We're going to go down and check either Twin Dams or the Mawati. We'll decide as we move. But in the meantime, Sydney's on the vehicle. He's moving. I'm not sure exactly where he's going, but let's go find out his plans.
I am here now guided by the impalas and a wildebeest which is right in the middle of these impalas there. I am sure this wildebeest is there for a safety reason. These impalas were not settled earlier on, so I am back here again to investigate what exactly is happening around here. Quite a lot of impalas with only just one wildebeest. It might be difficult for a predator to single one out when they are like this. They look very much camouflaged. There's a few males, young males, and then there's only one old male I am seeing. So these impalas, they're helping each other to nest their little ones. I can see them in the middle. This wildebeest is much safer because this wildebeest, if you check who targets the impalas, normally is the leopards. And wildebeest is a very big prey for those kind of predators. So every time there is an issue, the impala is going to get caught, not the wildebeest. So I can see that now these impalas are very much settled. Carol, the impalas, they are still going to give birth, and some of impalas you will get surprised. They do also give birth in January. And there is a story that the impalas do extend their pregnancy up to a month if the food is not available. I'm not too sure if this has been scientifically proven. So, but impalas, they do sometimes give birth by January. So now let's cross over to David, who also got a lovely antelope.
Well, albeit the rain still, falling, I have found one animal that's bracing the rain and having the courage just to take it as it comes. And this is a male waterbuck. It's a male waterbuck that, regardless of the rain, he's still holding. Either he is guarding his territory, but above all, you can see he got lots of fur on his body, which I think makes a very good caution for him to keep away the rain and, of course, the cold. Good morning, sir. Now, all the lovely horns you see on this particular buck here, back in my village, would get them and make some flutes, or they were very good in making some musical instrument, and we could play them during any celebration that we would have, twitching the ear just to pick up any sound, because as soon as it rains, most of these animals, especially the prey animals, antelopes, are always a little bit in a panic mood. They're always in panic mode. They always know predators take advantage of the rain and maybe try and bring them down. And you can see the amount of water around this particular waterbuck and how green it is, telling you that the rains may continue. Misha, a great comment. To love his horns. And the waterbacks, to me, and the kudus and the elands are the three main antelopes, Michelle, in Africa, I think have very good looking horns. And as I said earlier, we used to get them way back in the village to make some musical instruments, and you could just blow them like vuvuzela. So having eaten a lot either early this morning, it's time for him to chew a bit of cud, but also being very cautious nothing goes wrong. Daniel, yes, its hair is like a sponge, and I'll tell you, the fur of this particular waterbuck and all the other waterbucks are hollow. And we call them waterbucks, Daniel, because they always stay near or around water for one obvious or two reasons. Number one, they drink lots of water, so they're very much water dependent. But also number two, for safety, they have been known, if anything goes wrong, are you smelling something or are you smelling my voice? If anything goes wrong with them, because as I say, Daniel, they got very hollow fur, they are able to get and dash in the water, and they can easily swim and float in the water, and that the hollowness in their fur gives them some wonderful buoyancy. So yes, it's like a caution. One, it keeps them warm, but also it's very light. Should a need arise for them to take off away from the lions, they'll get in the water. And not many lions are very good swimmers. Lions, of course, will also try and get in the water, but chances are, once they see these antelopes in the water, they give up. And the waterbucks could be in water for a very long time. They would float, swim, and maybe coming out on the other end. And the lions are like, you know what? I don't want to risk myself. So he is alone here, and I'm trying to imagine he's guarding his territory, and maybe The mates or the females are not very far from here. Tutti, one animal really enjoys the rain. I would say for me, the elephant. Now, Tutti, look at this particular guy here. He's just there, not eating, and you can tell the rain doesn't look or sound very good to him. But if you're going to get a chance at one point and see elephants later on, you'll notice Tutti, they will eat, they will drink, they will play, they'll just do the normal things. Those are the only animals I would say 100%. They are not worried by rain. Other animals I might think of, Tutti, would be hippos. Hippos will tend to enjoy this kind of weather because they spend most of the day in the water, because it's pretty cool now, and you know, it feels good for them, and they don't have to struggle with a lot of sunlight. They would be out eating. I would not be surprised just to see a hippo out here in the open. Well, we used very specialized windshield when, you know, you see a crack like this. They're very well designed, because when we normally fold them down and we get little knocks because the roads are full of what we call corrugation, and we keep bouncing like that. So the kind of windshield we use are very well designed that even if they get cracked, we are still able to keep going, because the roads here are always quite tough. Well, I would say that's my first sighting this morning, which was quite encouraging. So we'll have to keep moving and looking for more animals this morning. But above all, as I said, I want to keep on the big road, avoiding getting stuck. This is not the day you want to get stuck. Very many people did not come out on the drive today. They were like, oh, they chickened out because of the rain. And I was like, you know, we'll still go out, because at one point the rains, I'm sure, will stop, and they will not go on for a very long time. Okay, who else will be waiting for us? Maybe from a distance I can see some wildebeest. I was talking earlier, you know, the wildebeest having gone back to Serengeti in Tanzania will always have a few that will be left in East Africa, or rather in Kenya. Let's go first to Sydney and find out whether he has spotted something or he's just driving around.
I am now heading much more towards the tree house dam, and that is the area where yesterday I picked up some tracks, and I am suspecting that Tingana is in this area. So I just want to do a follow-up on those tracks. We might be lucky in the area today. So I have not yet picked up any evidence of those tracks, but somewhere Philemon's Deep, there were some very huge tracks of a leopard yesterday, which went all the way past by the hyena den. So yesterday I have been to the hyena den, and when I got there, hyenas were not there. What I saw, it was these fresh leopard tracks and also the hyena tracks after the leopard. And when I got to the tree house dam is when I saw one hyena. So the den, to me, it was looking active, but the hyenas were not there. Maybe we're gonna find them this morning. I will pass by the hyena den later on, because I will be operating in that area. Unless the tracks for Tingana is going away from the hyena den. So the weather is nice and cool. I don't think the predators will rest when the weather is like this. It's their time to go and look around. A lot of elephant tracks here on the road. Yeah, this is a nice and cool weather. Despite the lightning, I can see too much lightning in this area. So now let's cross over to Steve, who is having more antelopes.
We have indeed. We are in the Umulwati drainage, where the grasses are nice and green and juicy and tall. And this small family of Nyala have come down into the drainage to obviously improve their digestion and their feeding at the moment. This is areas, as I was discussing last night, where we're looking for cats because it brings the animals because of the food. Now she's looking a little bit mangy on the neck. The Nyala were taking an absolute hammering over the last month or so, due to the fact that many of them, the females of course, were pregnant and trying to sustain the nutrient intake, as it was very dry and no leaves. Ooh, hear the thunder rolling in there. Did you hear that, Darby? Thunder was rolling in, and like the impala, the Nyala is a mixed feeder, so they have the potential to feed on leaves, the juiciest leaves, and very succulent grasses as they're coming through at this time of year. So hopefully the Nyalas is going to start getting into a much better sort of condition. The kudu I saw on my first morning back are in a horrible state, and well, they're also going to be fighting back. There are lots of leaves on the trees at the moment, so it's a time of plenty. Obviously we still require lots more rain so as to really boost everything back up again. Hello Dory, you want to know if waterbuck and Nyala have a birthing season? Well, Nyala are pretty much off season. They will mate throughout the year, but they generally do have a peak. As with most animals will try and coincide their breeding with the summer months when there's lots of water and green grass or trees. Don't have not like the impala that are set to a very specific rut. The Nyala basically can come in just any time of year, as do the waterbuck. But in saying that, there is a peak where the females almost seem to know that they want to breed or have their babies when conditions are at their best. But you can find very out of season waterbuck and Nyala babies. Up in the Mara, where there's 2 peaks of rainfall, the impala don't have a rutting season. They just kind of go on about their business throughout the year. So a lot of it's got to do with rainfall. And well, all these animals have evolved in these ecosystems. They've evolved with a summer rainfall. And so through that evolution, their breeding strategy and the traits that were more successful than others are the ones that move forward in the population. And it's hence why we've probably got such a fixed rutting season with impala down here. If they want to survive and do well, that is the strategy that has worked very well for them in the past. And so that is what sustains itself. Whereas in the Mara, the impala just do what they want to do. Okay, well, we're going to leave these Nyala in the drainage line here. Keep moving along. Pack them 100%. Nyala and Kudu in this family. They're in the bush well. In the Tragelaphus family, meaning the spiral horns that kind of twist, and they're all a little bit sort of marked in a way, spot. They all have a very slow moving gait. They will walk on the same foot. Their front foot is steps, and it's their strategy. So they're just the tier down. So the bushbuck is the smaller one, then you get the nyala, then the kudu, and then the eland is the bigger of the four. And that is, once again, from an evolutionary point of view, those animals feed at very different heights, and they are either mixed feeders or they are browsers exclusively. And so that's how they're able to sort of tier themselves into the landscape. Any two animals that are too closely related outcompete one another in favor of the better adapted individual. So nyala being mixed feeders, kudu being exclusively browsers. Okay, well, we're having a few little drips of rain falling down. Hopefully we're going to get a little bit of a downpour. That would be fantastic. But in the wet and soggy Mara, David Gitu is one of the only people out braving the wet and muddy conditions.
Well, my day is still going well, regardless of the rain, and the only downside is my spotting has been a bit limited because of the rain. Last night I was speaking to a few friends of mine, and we agreed, because the short rains, it seems they might continue a few more weeks. We don't know, maybe until the beginning of the year. And we thought from today going forward we are going to have a competition on who is going to be the best out here in terms of driving in the very sticky and very wet and soft grounds. And maybe come Christmas or come New Year, we are going to create our own prize and award the person who would win, and we would call that person the king of the marshmallow. Well, at the moment I want to call myself the undisputed king of the marshmallow, because I haven't seen any one car since I started out this morning about 5:45. I haven't seen any other car, and I'm like, did they chicken out? I would imagine at least one or two people would have come out. But what happens is, I'm sure the guides will always talk with the guests, you know, the previous night or early in the morning, and wonder, is it worth, you know, going out in the rain and seeing nothing and getting stuck? I'm trying to imagine that must be the plan that they had. But as it is now, I haven't gotten any challenger for this morning to find out who will be the best in this kind of weather. Well, I'll still wait for them. I haven't called any one of them. There's certain areas out in the park where the signal is always very poor. So once I get to some good signal area, I'm gonna like find out where you guys, we should be out here, and we see how it goes. The geology of the Mara, we got mainly two types of soil. You have the clay soil and you have the black cotton soil. None of them is good when it rains. But to me, the black cotton soil is the worst, because every time you end up just touching a little bit, it becomes very soft. And on a vehicle like this, that's four-wheel drive and heavy vehicle, it tends to sink. But the advantage of a Land Rover is not as heavy as a Land Cruiser. A Land Cruiser, you sink, you're done, you're on your own. But because I think a Land Rover has a lot of steel metal in the body, it's easy for two strong people just to give it a little push and it comes out of a sticky situation. Something tells me in another 10 minutes or so is going to clear up. The rains will stop. Sunrise definitely is rather late now for me to see my beautiful sunrise. I've started naming the sunrise the golden moment, and anytime I see sunrise or sunset, I have thought I'll give it a new name and not call it either of that and call it the golden moment. So my definitely golden moment for today is gone, but that doesn't worry me, because we still got very good chance of spotting some game. Getting very close to the Mara River, and I'll be excited to find out what could be happening in the water. Maybe not as many hippos inside the water. Some might try and come out, because it's not very warm now, and it's out here. It's rather cold out here. Friends of ours still doing a game drive there, and quite courageous for them to come out in a small car like that. It's a minibus, and apparently it's not a four-wheel drive, but I think the guy have a lot of courage to just come out in this kind of weather. Remember, your comments and questions are always very welcome. Hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. And we should be enjoying and celebrating this kind of weather together. Personally, I have loved rain since I was this big. Many times in the village, we would remove our clothes and go out and run in the rain. Thank you very much. At the moment, I think I'm only challenging myself, and I've always thought, you know, when you don't get a challenger, you tend to win every time you're out here in the fields. Let's see how it goes for the next half an hour. If you get someone else who will come out and try and challenge me. Trying to imagine what the crocodiles will be doing at the moment. The reptiles not being warm-blooded like us or like other mammals, they might be hiding, you know, near the water. While getting so close to the river, let me see. Well, I missed that, and I'm sure it's something that will be good looking in the Jersey. I might have lost some comms there, but I'm sure maybe you're talking about hippos or crocodiles. So, very good, yes. I mean, I'll not be surprised to see a crocodile wearing a jersey or some poncho as I get to the river. And being cold-blooded, as I said, chances are all of them must be out of the water trying to catch any warmth that could be out here today. So let's see how it will be as soon as I get to the river. Personally, I got 3 layers. Well, number one to keep me warm, but the one I have on top definitely is a very good kind of raincoat. Doesn't make any rain get into my body. You don't want to be rained out here in Africa when you are out this early in the morning. I'm going to be meeting friends of mine here. I'll just say Jumbo to them. I'm sure you all know what Jumbo translates to hello in our local language. But as I do that, I'll take you back to South Africa, to Sydney.
We are now heading towards the Treehouse Dam, and I'm just about a minute away from the treehouse where we are hoping to find something drinking this morning. So here by this side of a treehouse, there is no lot of water holes. It's just the tree house I saw yesterday. It's unlike the other portion of the reserve where there's quite a lot of potholes and the water collected by those elephant dug holes. So by this side, the animals are forced to come and drink here. Carol, we are still hoping for more rain, and I can see that it's not raining far. I can see where it's raining, and it's drizzling a little bit here where I am. So we might get some heavy rains. We need more rain. So this is the area I saw one hyena which went much further south. So hyenas, they always know where these leopards are. Yes, I think the hyena I saw yesterday is one of the hyenas from the Juma clan. So the Juma clan, they like it here. Just want to confirm this track here. Yeah, I can see that the hyenas has been here. So the hyenas are drinking a lot from this side of. So they're drinking a lot from this side of the reserve by this tree house. I prefer the walks because when you're out on walks, you get a close contact with nature and you see a lot of things that you don't see from the vehicle. So now let's go to David by the Masai Mara, who has just found the hyena.
Well, down Sydney, keep following the tracks. They might lead you to hyenas just like me. I saw a few tracks here and they led me to this one particular hyena who I'm not very sure she is feeding on something, and I do not know what she is feeding on. She seems to be pulling something on the ground there, and I would definitely guess it must be a carcass. Nothing fresh, nothing new, nothing she hunted for herself, but you can tell. Good morning. She's either definitely trying to get some flesh out of a very old carcass, because once the wildebeest go, so many carcasses of them are left behind by the lions, and the times you get lions bringing down 2 or 3 wildebeest in a day, and that's the time when the hyenas are very choosy. They'll always know what to go for and what they'll not eat, but when they have not much of a choice, as much as they are scavengers, that's exactly what they're doing here, or what she's doing. This is the spotted hyena. We've got a few different types of hyenas, and they always go in groups that we call clans. And I'm not sure what clan this would come from. We are quite a distance away from the North Clan. North Clan is a group of hyenas we follow here. There's another clan called the Happy Zebra Clan, and another clan we just discovered the other day that I guess is called the Olololo. So this particular one is neither of those 3. They're just roaming. And the other side of that bush there is the Mara River. Not sure I won't call them the Mara River Clan. Not really. We've got some ladies here who have been following hyenas for a very long time from Michigan State University. Well, in the Mara, the good thing about the Mara is huge. It is massive. Well, the Mara Triangle, we are talking about 510 square kilometers. Lots of hyenas, but also at the same time lots of prey. So there's a lot for these animals to feed on, and especially the hyenas, they really get enough. We haven't seen really them, the different clans going for each other. Once in a while they have, for territorial reasons. We have seen hyenas, for example, like this particular one, we'll see them just walking on their boundaries, just making sure they are going, they remark their boundaries, they go scent marking, and making sure they don't allow any other hyenas in the area. So at the moment I would say so far so good. They got enough to eat, and we haven't seen really bad blood between them. If anything, we have always seen them when they go fight lions, for prey, but clans against each other, it is quite rare. There's a clan that we call the North Clan. The North Clan is the largest clan we know of because it got over 70 members. So those ones are many, and I think the numbers of the North Clan are still growing. Happy Zebra, not as big. The Olololo Clan, not as big. So I would say they have a lot to eat. Enough zebras, enough wildebeest. And just watching some zebras out here, and all of them seems to be looking particular direction. Not sure what they're looking at. I'll be finding out if they're looking at some hyenas running or they're looking at some kind of cat. But yeah, you're right. That's a lot of them. But cross, there's one hyena crossing the road, cross very quickly, go. And that hyena is crossed. But I'm seeing some herds of zebras here, and they're all looking in a particular direction. I want to investigate and find out what they're looking. They look to be a bit apprehensive, not sure. Sometimes they're even scared of hyenas themselves because they know hyenas also hunt them. Let me see if there's anything that they don't like, something that personally I might like. They might have seen something that just crossed the road. Could it be the hyena that I saw running? And nothing at the moment. But quite a number of zebras around, quite a number of wildebeest around, very close to the river. Maybe they might have crossed earlier, maybe they may want to cross. We'll just stop somewhere and frame them for you. I haven't seen wildebeest for quite some time, so I want to stop here and have a look at these zebras and wildebeest that are coming, and they're coming from the river. Not sure, they might have crossed before, or they just maybe went to the river to drink and they have had a drink and they're done. And this is normally what we see during the migration. We usually have a wonderful moment here, and it's a very big highlight of the Mara Triangle when we see thousands of both wildebeest and zebras ruling the Mara Plains. Kelly, you see a hyena running there. The only one time I saw a little fight between clans of hyenas. Two more running. You see those ones, Kelly, there? I don't know why they're running. I think they're just happy because they have had enough to eat. It's raining. It's just feeling good for everybody. There's one time I saw a little standoff between the North clan of hyenas and the happy zebra. And I got a feeling there was one particular male that was of very high ranking that tried to sneak and mate with one of the females from the happy zebra, and they all came almost, oops, see all these hyenas running, I'm not sure where they're coming from. They almost came into a fight, but what happened is I think the very high ranking females came and contained the situation. Another hyena running there, and the North clan backtracked and they went to their area. So what the North clan did, I think they went and tried to rescue the member who was most likely rounded by the happy zebra clan. I think, yes, you're right, there could be a party going on somewhere because they're all running, going into a particular direction, and I might also go in the same direction maybe a few minutes later, because the moment you see one, two, you see another one there. That's like what, hyena number 8? I'm not sure, you've been counting, and they're all going in a particular direction. And something tells me there could be a kill in the particular area they're going, which will be very good news for me. Yeah, definitely. When you see, we have always have a saying here that when you see smoke, there could be fire. So always follow the smoke because you might see fire. That's hyena number 10 going that direction. Let me go there and find out what could be happening. But in the meantime, we'll go back to South Africa to Steve Ovo.
Scavengers and very efficient hunters, the hyena. And well, here we found ourselves a molting or maybe a young battalier that's becoming an adult. You see the colours are not very, very clear. There's still some spots around the neck and head, and even some sort of molting feathers attached to his nostrils at the moment. Well, actually, potentially even a female. You see that on the shoulder, it's kind of getting quite pale. and then sort of around the miniskirt area there is sort of a pale patch as well. The males don't have the shoulder patch, they only have sort of the breast patch. That's how you differentiate between male and female Bateleur. But this one is, as I said, probably a younger one that's coming into adult plumage, so it's getting its first set of adult feathers. Very exciting, as it takes 7 years for them to develop them. So, excuse me, you can see the short-tailed eagle by the two wing feathers, or the primaries that are sort of touching below, behind the tail, and then the absence of the tail that in most birds kind of sticks out the bottom there with the wing feathers. Having a little bit of a one-legged movement here. You see how windy it is up there. Carol indeed, hanging on for dear life with 1 foot. It's quite windy and the rain is starting to fall, which is very, very nice. It's nice and cool, in fact. And Dave and I were just commenting that neither of us bought a jacket, because guaranteed if we brought a jacket the rain would not have come. So you can maybe just hear the pitter-patter of rain on our roof. Nothing too scary at the moment. But anyway, we'll continue on. Leave the Bateleur here to its morning. And well, it is sort of facing the wind. The wind is coming that direction. Generally you'll find birds facing into the wind just because it's easier to balance that way than to stand side on the wind. Not that easy. Anyway, we're going to continue on here. Hopefully we're going to get more than just this little spattering, because this is just teasing us. You can smell the rain. But it's really not showing too much of itself yet. Nico, you want to know if the Bateleur can fly in this wind? Yes, Bateleur is actually the most efficient of the large raptors. They fly at a very low altitude. The lack of the tail actually prevents them sort of stalling, and they can fly quite low down like this. So it's not uncommon to find them flying now, but I think it's a little bit chilly. So it's all sort of kind of tucked up there, trying to keep itself from getting cold. But they are the most efficient of the large raptors at flying, and they're generally the first ones to find any sort of carcass, any form of dead animal, any form of roadkill. They also, ooh, there we go, there's the rain coming in my eye there. So Bateleur meaning either French tightrope walker or was a famous tightrope walker. There is a debate that I've never put to rest about exactly which one it means, but kind of when it flies, it has this sort of very unstable looking flight pattern, and they keep very low to the ground, and that is how they're able to find the first kills or carcasses in the early morning. A very common sight in the Mara. Many kills happening up there, many animals dying in general to the hyena and the lion alike. But we often find Bateleurs along this road here. There's a nice area where they've been nesting throughout the year, so generally we don't have too much concern when we see them here. But if you find a Bateleur in a tree with a vulture or two, definitely worth a bit of an investigation. Bateleur got very good eyesight, generally spots the kills long before, and well, vultures will often move in and try and capitalize on things that the Bateleur eagle has already spotted. One of the adaptations, being able to fly early on in the morning, enables them to sort of compete with the other birds, sort of carve out their niche in the environment. Well, we are still driving around looking for tracks. Oh, here comes the rain. This is great. Hard to look forward. We might have to do some covering up in a second. Darby, what do you think? Sounds like there is rain all over the place. David is covered. Sydney is busy covering himself, which is a good sign. Hopefully we're not preempting it We're not going to jinx it, and as soon as we cover up ourselves, it's going to go away. It feels like this rain might be pushing in and might settle for a few hours. We really hope so, because that is the kind of rain I was discussing earlier that just soaks into the ground and really benefits the grass layer. Something that I know will bring the buffalo back, will help all of the grazing animals, the hippos as well. They obviously need grass. The rhinos that we have around, and well, the elephants in their numbers will come. Bearing in mind, a lot of the green and growing that happens here is only really fed upon later in the year. When it rains like this, most of the animals generally sort of migrate across to the sweet basalt soils in the east, where the vegetation that is growing there is very tasty. It's kind of reminiscent of the Masai Mara. Maybe not as productive, but there's elements to it that cause the animals to move. For example, how long it takes us to find zebra. When last did we find a zebra? They've gone over to the rain. Anyway, it seems like Sydney has battened down their hatches. We're going to be doing the same shortly, so let's go and see how it's faring that side.
So now the rain has just started. It's not too much windy anymore. It is going to rain now. It's just getting cold at the moment. I am trying to check around the Triple M just to see if the unkuhumas are not out yet from the private property. I have been to the hyena den, and surprisingly I found the impalas there. The hyenas were not there. So maybe the hyenas moved the den, or they are out now for foraging purposes. So maybe we're gonna be lucky here. I just want to make sure that I check this road to see if unkuhumas are still on that other side or they are back in our property. But now that the rain is drilling, it's not going to be easy for me to see the tracks. So the rain is just killing all the evidence on the road at the moment. I have seen the tracks of Tingana somewhere around the Philemon's Deep. So I'm just going to check here and still go back that side and see if he is not in the area. And those tracks were convincing. I did try to follow the tracks, but they just got disappeared somewhere in the block. It's very much quiet at the moment. So this a little bit of rain, I can see that it is causing the negative impact on the ground for me to see. It's not raining too much, but the tracks are just dying easily here on the ground. So now I am at the border between us and the neighboring property where the unkuhumas disappeared yesterday morning. So now I don't have to rely on the ground, I have to just look carefully. The ground is not reliable anymore. The ground where I am at the moment is one of the busiest road, and this busiest road, it has got quite a lot of bumpy areas. So, but these roads are well maintained. It's not very bad. At least there is evidence that it's raining, if you can see the rain from the dam cam. It's not raining badly yet, but I can see that how it's building, it might get very heavy. There's no sign of the Unkuhumas coming back from the private property. So now let's cross over to the Masai Mara, where rain has just stopped.
Well, perfect weather I got now, and you can see flaps down. There's a zebra that won't cross the road for me, and I spent a few seconds bringing the flaps down, but oh, looks just fantastic. And this zebra is welcoming me back to my natural light and the way I like doing things. Did you hear that? That was a stallion. Sorry about my head. And that's a small dog family there of zebras. Fantastic. And they'll keep calling, just making sure everything's done as they want. Sometimes, you know, the males are always very dominant, the stallions. You'll always see them walking in a single file, and a very basic social structure of a zebra will be a few females or a few wives the male will have, a few mares, and then there'll be one stallion, and they'll always put the youngsters in the middle, as you can see there. Not sure what direction they're heading into, but I'm guessing they're going towards the Mara River. Kalsik, great comment. Apart from the hyena, you do love my shuka, and this is one shuka I've had for a long time. I'm going to show it to you nicely. Where is this hyena going? What do you want here? Don't come close to us, hyena, please. You need to follow the other clan, the other members. Not sure what he's interested. He's very curious. We have nothing to offer. He's a youngster. Good morning. How are you? We don't look like food, do we? Trying to sniff us. Do you like anything in the car? So long as you don't touch the mud flaps of the car, we are fine. Hyenas have been known to try to chew anything, including metal. Well, I am not sure we had any snack. That's what the final control is asking me. We didn't have any snack. The only thing we carried were some nuts. We had some cashew nuts with us, or the macadamia nuts, and I highly doubt she might be interested to eat macadamia nuts. Are you smelling anything in this car? You are a predator, meat eating, and we got nothing like meat here, and I'm not sure you want any one of us here. So please sniff on the ground. You need to smell the prints of the tracks of the other members of the hyenas that moved on, and you follow them, because I think the hyenas have a party somewhere. Hello. Well, Kalsik, look at how close this hyena is to me, and I hope you're going to enjoy. Oops. What do you want? This is one of the most courageous hyenas I've seen in a very long time. Honestly, what do you want? No. What do you want? What is your name? What exactly do you want? What are you smelling here? What can you see? I think in all my career, this is the closest I've come to a hyena, and not sure what she's thinking. What can you smell on the ground there? It got nothing to do with me. What a moment. How epic was that? And this is how things go out in the wild. The moment you're quiet, you become friendly to these animals. They're going to come as close as you are to them. You're not very loud. You're not, you switch off your engine and you don't have a lot of body movement. It becomes quite entertaining. Hello, you're still thinking of coming close here? Sorry, we have nothing to offer you for breakfast. The rest of you, the clan left you behind. You just need to catch up with them. See how fluffy his fur looks. Well, possibly, like Kalsik said. Kalsik, you said you love my shuka, and I think also, Kalsik, this hyena maybe also loves my shuka. And I think this is one shuka I'll keep wearing for a very long time, and especially in the morning. Hyena, do you agree is my shuka that you like? Well, Kalsik, I have to thank you for saying I have a wonderful shuka. And I'm sure one day, Kalsik, should you come to Africa or Kenya in particular, I'll make sure I get you one shuka. It's called a Maasai shuka. We have a local tribe here that's called the Maasai, just like the Maasai Mara. And they love wearing shukas of different colors. Of course, different people, different Maasais will have different taste. And this is definitely also my taste. Now, this hyena, if it's my shuka that you like, I've been thinking of what to do for you, but I think you better follow the green area and go look for some food, because I don't think the shuka will have any nutrition value for you. If anything, it's going to make your life difficult. A few months ago, I was in South Africa and wind blew off my cap from the car. And I was with a camel called Senzo, and after half an hour I was able to find my cap again, but it was half eaten. It was almost 45% gone, chewed and devoured by some hyenas. Not sure which hyenas were, and we tried to track them down with Senzo to give them a lesson, but they disappeared. And I didn't hear of any hyena that died, so showing how good the digestive system are, they can chew anything. A car that Jamie used to drive didn't have any mud flaps because they kept chewing on them. So what we ended up doing in the camp, look at her. No, don't get so close. Tell me what you want. I have nothing to offer. Honestly, I think you're all right. It's my shuka that she either loves so very much. See, the closest I've ever been to a hyena. Don't get the mud flaps, please. We already removed the ones from the vehicle from Jamie a couple of months ago, so I need mine because they help mud from getting into my face. No, please don't. Okay, enough. Bye. Have a beautiful day. Please go. Remember, we do a very interactive safari. Should you have any questions or any comments, send them through #SafariLive. Either she's happy. Are you happy? Are you still looking in the front there? Go follow your friends and get yourself some food, because we saw so many of these hyenas running a few minutes ago, and I think I just want to let him know I am leaving this spot. Now, when you stay in the front there, that means they can't move. Good. Very difficult to tell whether it's a he or she. Hyenas are very difficult to tell their sex unless you're so sure looking at the mammary glands. That's the only one way you can tell 100%. We have seen females looking like males, and it's always very confusing to tell using or telling from their genitalia whether it's a male or female. She is either so used. I've never seen this particular hyena before. This is fantastic. Very good. I would want to wish you a lovely day, and that's the direction all your friends went, and most likely going to catch up with them. And if they have any food, please make sure you get to them quickly. They don't finish everything for you. How exciting was that? What a great moment. As soon as my flaps came down, you see the difference. When the flaps are down, we are able to see better, and the visibility is pretty cool at the moment. Spotted hyena making its way, following the rest of the members of the clan, and chances are they got something. We got a small herd of zebras that I saw earlier crossing the road, and they're just very close to the river. Not sure what they want to do there. I doubt they may want to cross at this point. That particular area there's a very high bank, and the gradient there is pretty sharp. I doubt they don't want to risk themselves to cross the river. Dory, ideally, what we do, we'll always try as much as we can to respect the animals. We'll always say they have the right of way. And so long as he did not invade my space, he was just friendly. So we'll do as much as we can, switch off the car, wait until she goes. And because she's gone now, I'm also going. But ideally, we'll always say the animals have the right of way. We found them here. And I would be able to have a similar experience in future. But should I have maybe started the car and started revving, she'd maybe feel offended, and in future she'll always see a car and back off. So just staying still, staying quiet, it makes it easier for us to bring you, Dory, such wonderful experiences and sightings. All right, I want to follow those hyenas that I saw earlier running and find out where they were going, because I'll be surprised if they did not, or they don't have a party. And if they have a party, definitely they could be on a kill, either of their own or maybe of other predators. All right, keep going, keep going. And Steve Ovo, do you got any elephants with you?
Thanks, David. Well, the rain is coming down now beautifully, and we found a female elephant with her small little family. I think it's the same ones I was with last night with Trishala. The little youngster there is showing us how to dust bath. It's a technique he's probably learned quite recently from Mum. And Mum's giving us a little bit of an eye. She's watching us quite closely. She doesn't want us to get too close to her family. It was actually some nice behavior for Trish to see last night, because this female walked past us with her youngster, and then on the other side of the road she'd left her two sort of sub-adult babies. And when Trish decided to drive off, we drove through the herd, even though they were quite some distance apart, and she came and decided to give Trish a little bit of a rev. It was quite nice to see, in fact. Yeah, she's going to come closer and say hello to us. She's just basically warning us about her family being here, saying, don't get in between me and my family. And we won't. It's okay, Mama. It's okay. Don't you worry. We're going to respect you and your space. Respect you and your little youngsters. You see how when she turns like that, she's still looking backwards towards us. Elephants are like horses with their eyes. They're able to see backwards. You see when she turns her head, she's just protecting that youngster. Oh, the lightning is very close, Darby. That was a very close strike. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to keep up online. We will be, eh? We're going to have to, Emma, we're going to have to shut down. We got a lightning strike hitting very close a moment ago, and we have got a big aerial. So while we move and maybe get another view of these Ellies and shelter from the storm, let's go all the way back up to the Masai Mara, where David Gitu is also having some.
Well, very good, Seb, having gotten the elephants, and I left my entertaining hyena and I moved on, and I'm seeing some animal that lives in the water, and I think this is a hippopotamus. He's facing the wrong direction. He needs to be facing us. That's one point I was talking about, being not very hot at the moment. Chances are you'd always see them, out of the water. Normally, like now, they should be in the water, but because it's still cool, they're out here grazing, taking advantage of the low temperatures. But of course, as it gets a little warmer, they slowly start heading back to the river, and in those bushes there, that is the direction where the Mara River is. He's slowly fading out there. The orange-leafed crotons. Huge, heavy animals hippos are. Pretty dangerous, just like the buffaloes. It depends on where you are in Africa. We got people who will say, well, buffaloes are more dangerous than hippos. Others will say the other way around. But for me, out of my experience, we've got zebras running up there again. We have been having some pandemonium of hyenas running, zebras running, Not sure, but I got a feeling that that zebra crowd or that zebra herd, they're building in numbers. And if you get anything like 20, 30, 40 of them, they might decide to cross the river, which could be something very exciting. We've been seeing river crossing a couple of months ago. But it does not necessarily mean because the migration is gone, we'll never see animals crossing rivers. No, we'll still see them, but maybe in small pockets, small numbers, not like during migration. You can see the zebras, they are all running towards the river. And when they left there were about 10, pretty close to the river. Pakistan, I would say zebras are more closely related to horses than donkeys. I would say they are much closer to horses in the family Equidae. Sometimes you'll make jokes here because in Kenya, Pakistan, we got two species of zebras. We got the one you just saw there that we call the common zebra or the plain zebra, and we usually say that one is closer to the donkey. And then Pakistan, when you go further north of Kenya to a place that we call Laikipia on the northern hemisphere or north of the equator, we got another species of zebra there that is called the gravy zebra, and we see those ones are closely related, or they're similar rather, to the horses. And we've seen people actually who have been able to crossbreed Pakistan, the gravy zebra and the horses. And they have gotten, an animal just like the mule between, horses and donkeys, that, the hybrid does not, the progeny does not continue from there. And they are calling them zebroids, which are half horses, half zebras. And I think the reason they are trying to, or they've been doing that is because in general, zebras got very soft backs and you cannot ride zebra. I'm sure they could easily cave in. So what they're trying to do, that particular zebra, the gravy zebra, and the horse, the breed or the hybrid they're getting, has a much stronger back, and people have been known to ride on them. Well, personally, I haven't done that, but I have seen lots of those hybrids in the northern part of Kenya. All right, this is very close to the river, and you notice here the grass is quite short than other areas. So what you would normally see here are lots of Thompson gazelles on such short grass, which also makes it very good cheetah country. All right, oops. I just found some very quietly. Got a hippo very close to the water. Sorry, I missed the question from Jason because I just saw this hippo very close. Just bring me that question again from Jason as I watch this huge hippo here. Look at him. Jason, very good question. Sorry, I got distracted when I saw this huge hippo right next to the road. And yes, Jason, you're right. It's the Mara zebra. That is the Grant zebra. You are right, Jason. My apologies. I had missed your question because I did not expect to get a hippo this close to the road, which is quite unusual, and he did not even dare to move, and he's just making himself actually even more comfortable. So Jason, you're right, it's the Mara river, or it's the Mara zebra rather, that is the Grant zebra. You're very right. We have also sometimes called them the Bachar zebra, and we also got the Grant zebras also in South Africa. So this hippo is just so comfortable in the water here, and it doesn't even look bothered by us. And my guess is it could have been or is a big male that could have been displaced maybe by a younger male, because hippos are very territorial, and when maybe a younger male decided to come in and overthrew him, wow, he doesn't have any control of the females, and he's way out of the river, not very far, about 200 meters from the river, and he might end up living on his own. And if it gets pretty warm, because I think only half of his body is covered, he'll end up definitely going back to the water, and he'll stay on his own area, not joining the other school of hippos or raft or thunder of hippos, as we call them. Now, talking of some dangerous animals that we got here in Africa, and it depends on where you come from. The people will say buffaloes, others will say hippos. For me, comments. Carol, great comment. Scuba Steve has made all the way to the Mara. I'm trying to estimate how many kilometers he would have done, Carol. We are looking at 3,700 or so kilometers. That is a long way. And I'm sure, Carol, before he gets here, he'll be so worn out. He'll have lost his weight. Well, yeah, Carol, you're right. That reminds me of Scuba Steve in Beaufort Dam, I guess. Was that so? I'm trying to imagine that's where I kept seeing him many times. It's very possible. Now, the only challenge, Carol, here, it's very difficult for us to name the hippos because you've got loads of them. You go to the Mara River, there are lots of them. So I'm sure this is maybe the first time I'm seeing this particular hippo, and maybe the last time, or even see him again, unless I pick particular features on him. See the ear there? It could be very difficult to know whether I'm seeing him again or I had even seen him before. And if you look on the base of that ear, you can see a bit of red there. And that's more of a wrinkled part of the body, which translates to age. Dripping eyes there, also another element of being an old boy. Chances are, if it was a female, it could not be here. It's also possible, but females tend to remain in the water, maybe with their youngsters. And we found out males are the ones that have killed more people in Africa than females. Got a very nice jacuzzi, a little pool for itself, and definitely no any other that will come in. Now, cooling itself on the underbelly, which is fine for now, but if it warms up, it's going to be difficult. Gek, very good question. Do the hippos have four-wheel drive like me or this Land Rover? Hippos will always struggle in the mud. I saw one earlier and we tried to bring it on frame and we kept laughing, me and Nachi, because he could not, or she could not even balance for herself. So in the mud, hippos are terrible. Because of their weight, they look small, but they are very heavy. Some of them weigh more than buffaloes. So Gek, they are not very good when it comes to using four-wheel drive. Two-wheel drive is fine, but you would see them struggling because of their weight. And they don't look very proportional to me. So you'll see them like, sliding from one side to the other, especially on the black cotton soil. And that's the time they become pretty dangerous. I would guess you might survive a hippo if you have your nerves right during the rainy season because they don't have their balance correct. But when it is dry and they have proper grip on the ground, you have to be very careful. And early mornings and late evenings is when they have been known to bring many people down or hurt people. Late in the evening is when they're always leaving the water to go feed, sometimes going 20, 30 kilometers away from the water, and feeding the whole night, coming back in the morning. And that's the time either here locally the villagers are going to fetch water, Karen, as I was saying earlier, just like age, if you look at old people, things start, falling down or falling apart. And now, because it doesn't have as much fluid, I would say, in its eyes, it will need to keep dripping and maybe keep cleaning the eye because of the old age. I'm not sure the retina and all the other muscles in the eye are very, very solid. So they'll either keep dripping, most likely because of the old age. I want to leave this gentleman here and he can keep enjoying his piece. He has really entertained me, and hopefully by me starting the engine I don't startle him. And have a very good day, and make sure when it gets pretty hot you go back to the big river. Jamie, good question, and I'm not sure I have a very good answer for you, and you'd like to know, do you know these animals get cataracts? I would say, through a guess, not 100% sure, any animal would be able to get cataracts. When we see animals as they get old not seeing very well, it could be an indication. Not sure anybody have done any research on that, but I would say there's a possibility that also these animals, just like human beings, also get cataracts. Who knows? But that's a guess. I do not know for a fact. Getting very close to the Maro River. I just want to show you a bit of the river because the water levels have come up on the left here, and I'll also show you we've got some hippos in the water and why that one is outside, just to show you that the amount of the flow looks much better than a couple of weeks ago. You can see that, and possibly you can even hear a little bit of some waterfall, and that makes it look so beautiful. We were all worried a few weeks ago when the levels had gone very down and we weren't sure what was happening, where the problem was. Was it the rains or people, you know, harvesting so much water from the river? We didn't know exactly what was happening. There's an egret flying somewhere there and just landed. Excellent. That to me looks like an egret there. Or is it sacred ibis? I'm sure. Yeah, it's a sacred ibis. My apologies. It's not an egret, but when it was landing, it looked all white, and definitely she is trying to get some food for herself next to the river. Well, talking of rains, I'm sure Sydney might be telling us more about the rains in Joma.
I am now in the middle of the rain. It has been raining for a while now. You can see I am on my raincoat at the moment. To see the tracks anymore. All the tracks has been rubbed by this rain, and there is too much lightning as well in the area at the moment. So when it's raining like this, quite a lot of those animals who eat grass, you will see them eating, but because of lightning, some they gather and hide by the thick bushes. Yeah, it is raining at the moment. I am getting wet. Can thunders do scare the animals? Sometimes you will see mostly animals such as impalas coming together and staying very close to each other, maybe sometimes for insulation as well, when they are avoiding this kind of thunderstorms. You'll see them going under the big trees. It's getting cold at the moment here. Thank you very much for such a positive comment. It is so encouraging. Maybe we're going to be lucky and see something during the rain. So now let's cross over to the Masai Mara, where David is driving around. He doesn't have rain at the moment.
Well, I think the tables have turned and the weather pattern has changed. I had a little bit of a difficult situation in the morning with the rains, and Sydney and Steve were having a wonderful morning. But I think boom, boom, and you know, the pattern has changed. It's me now enjoying the wonderful weather. Well, that happens a lot in Africa, and it's not only me now. We're celebrating without having the rain, but I think also all the wildebeest are celebrating. I want to show you what is happening here. Not a pandemonium of wildebeest, but some animals who are enjoying this rain, just like me. The coolness, the greenness, and all the food. And just look at that. Oh, there's a hyena chasing a wildebeest there. Look at that. There's one hyena, and I'm not sure if she's a joker or she's really serious. Look at that. Whoops, there's a hyena there. I do not know whether she is really serious. Possibly it's just so many. She is on the run, and she might zero in on one particular hyena, and she might get one. See her. Wow. She needs to concentrate on one. It's difficult. And she's still running. And there she goes. She's just running in the midst of this wildebeest. Not sure she's just joking or she really wants to get in one of them. Yvonne from the final control, I want to agree with you. It's more of an exercise than actual hunt. But maybe what else you could be doing is to chance on one wildebeest that maybe will just panic, try to run and trip or maybe fracture its leg. It's part of an exercise, but you never know what she's doing. Look, look. Hyena, you better do an exercise. And people have thought hyenas are not fast, but they are. And this wildebeest here are not taking any chances. Well, I've always known how... Yes, why not? How exciting is this? Wow. Run, run, run. But please do something. Well, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning and welcome to the Mara Triangle. We are in Kenya and we have such an exciting sighting where we have seen, or we are seeing one hyena that have been running here for the last 5 minutes non-stop. Not exactly sure what she wants to do, but instead of her trying to bring either a wildebeest down or a zebra down, she has kept running. Maybe exercising, maybe toning her muscles, but I think all this run should be worth getting something down. And she keeps going. She's still running. She disappeared somewhere, and either she's going to zero in on that particular young wildebeest there. Maybe yes, maybe not, but I don't know why it has taken her so long to decide on what to do. How exciting is this? She still keeps going. The wildebeest still keep running. Hyenas have been known to run for a very long time. They have this big advantage of having about 40%. Although you say she's fast, and yes, she is. People have mistaken hyenas not to be very fast runners, but hyenas have their front quarters, which is about 30%. I'll give them about 30% thrust to keep running, and it gives them big advantage, unlike all their other predators when they decide to go and hunt. Now, the one that was running have just disappeared. We can't see it anymore, but she kept chasing that one particular young calf of a wildebeest. Now, we got wildebeest, we got zebras there, we got Thompson gazelles, and that's another hyena that just stopped at that particular point. Joy, I agree with you, and that's a great point. Many people have always mistaken hyenas for scavengers, but I tell you what, hyenas, 70% of what they eat, they hunt for themselves. Well, my name is David, and with camera this morning with me is Archie, and this is very exciting. What we want to do, we want to go very close and find out whether anything might have happened there, because that's the direction they went running, and it could be exciting to see what might have happened at that particular point. Well, it has been raining a lot here, and you notice the car is struggling to leave this black cotton soil. So first I'll get close to this wildebeest and find out whether they still have that panic mode or not. And it's very exciting. As I said earlier, we are in the Mara Triangle in Kenya. Don't too much coffee this morning, you're right, and coffee will just help us keep us warm. And remember, our drive is very interactive. Should you have any questions or comments, please send them through using hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. What you just heard in the background, those were zebras, and that's why I had to keep quiet for you just to hear their call. And oh, these are wildebeest, and they're heading towards the river. Not sure exactly what they want to do. Most of them, I would say 95% of the wildebeest are in Serengeti, in Tanzania, and see the hyenas now have slowed down. Either they were just tuning their muscles and trying to scare these wildebeest and see if any one of them would panic and stop and then take advantage and grab one. Look at that. Ellen, I agree with you. I mean, even for me, I have seen that hyena. At one point, I thought it was a cheetah, Ellen, and that was very fast. Hyenas in general tend to trot, you know. They don't run as fast, but they run for very long distances and for a long time. But that was a very quick speed. Maybe when we go back to the camp, we are going to do a slow-mo and maybe try and estimate how many kilometers it was doing per hour. But yes, Ellen, I agree with you. That hyena was very fast. Now all these wildebeest are heading towards the river, and the zebras are following them, and you can hear them calling. Helen, I'll tell you what, hyenas will always hunt. 70% of the food that hyenas get, they hunt for themselves. You'll be surprised. And they only scavenge 30%. But this misconception has been there for very many years, that hyenas are thieves, hyenas get other animals' food. No, hyenas will always get their own food. And looking at success of the predators, I would say hyenas are more successful in terms of hunting than even lions and the other animals. What I want to do is see if I can turn around and find out exactly where these wildebeest want to end up, because they're either running towards the river and maybe, who knows, they might want to cross. So let me just back up a little bit there. Parker, you need to back up quickly and move quickly, Parker. And this has been quite exciting. Well, I hope all of you have enjoyed that special setting this morning of the hyena running and chasing all those wildebeest, and we want to thank you very much for watching. But keep alert, we might be sending you other notifications in the very near future. And on behalf of Archie and myself, David, thank you very much, and we'll be back with you. We'll be back on the normal YouTube chat. Well, welcome back everybody, and I'm sure you have just seen how cool that was, and that was one of the fastest hyenas I've seen in a long time. I've always known hyenas can run and keep running for a long time, but not on such fast speed. That was very fast. Well, I'm not sure she was trying to hunt a wildebeest or she was just playing a joker. Who knows? We'll be finding out much later if I head in that particular direction. That was quite exciting, and my adrenaline was going pretty high. And this is all the goodies and all the good news the rains will always bring. So keep now driving and looking for other stuff. Maybe for Thompson gazelles that you can see from a distance, which, as I said earlier, they make this to be very good cheetah country. I don't know where the cheetahs have been the last couple of weeks. And Archie, what do you think of those Tommies there? It's very good food for the cheetah. I mean, cheetahs will always hunt anything, but their favorite food, I would say, are the Thompson gazelles. And in the background there, you can still keep hearing the zebras. They're not. It's very good audio from the zebras. And there's a lapwing there, and looks pretty different from the normal lapwing I know. This is the black-crowned lapwing, and it looks different because of the rains as much as I would guess that is a juvenile or an immature one. I would say more juvenile than immature, and doesn't have the proper black crown on top of the head. They have always been known to feed on worms from the ground. Thompson gazelle, and that's another one there. This looks much older, much Yeah, this is definitely a mature one there. Not sure why they changed their names from plovers to lapwings. And you can see the crown on the head gives it its name there. And they're trying to get themselves as many insects as they can, which have been brought by the rains. Insects, any worms, could be any small little beetles there. Definitely enjoying some nice meal. I love that crown there. And ladies and gentlemen, remember we always do a very interactive safari. Any questions and comments, please send them through #SafariLive. What is it that you cannot swallow? Because I see something sticking on your beak, something white, either like a butterfly or some sort of insect, but you cannot swallow it. I'm not sure why. Or is it stuck somewhere? You know, some of the birds, because of maybe lacking teeth, they're not able to bring whatever back to their throat and swallow it. Hello there. Sarah, how are you? And I'm happy you're saying this is a new lapwing for you. There are so many lapwings in the Mara, and this is the crowned lapwing. And to me, one of the most beautiful lapwings that we got around here in the Mara. I'm going to be getting my book and showing you a few more lapwings that we get here. It's just one of them. Jason, good question. And what happens, I was just talking a few minutes ago, that the bird enthusiast, or the bird, let me call them ornithologist, or, you know, the people who will be naming these birds, they change their names. We have always called them plovers for a very long time. And a year or 2, 3 years ago, they changed their names to lapwings. I have no reason, or I do not know why. It's just like the thickneys and the cobs. So, but the smaller ones, for example, the 3-banded plover, Jason, those ones have remained being called plovers, but all the big ones, they changed their names to lapwings. No idea why they did that. The small ones also, like the kitlets, they have kept their names. They are still calling them, you know, plovers. But all these size, for example, the spur-winged, the Senegal, the yellow wattled, all those ones have changed their names from plovers to lapwings. And she's enjoying her drink there. April, I agree with you on that lapwing, and what I would be requesting Archie to do is to come on my little pad here, because I want to show Jason why we want to, or why they kept the names of the other plovers as they are. So here, right, if Jason you are watching, you can see I got the kitless plover there. So these ones of this size, or the small ones, the plovers, they did not change their names. They are still calling them plovers. But anything bigger than this, including what we were just watching, they changed their names from plovers to lapwings. We also got the 3-banded plovers, and all the other plovers that of that size, they remained with the same name. So what happened is, the bigger ones, they changed the names to lapwings. I do not know how they ended up doing that, but that's exactly what you're following. Well, we may have to move on, as we have a Thompson very close to us here. A male, I don't know what he could be doing and baying on his own. Hello, Tommy. Not sure how many flicks they do in a minute of their tails, and how much energy or kilocalories they burn on that particular tail, and how it survives all their lifespan. Well, we'll just let this Tommy keep flicking his tail. The lapwings, maybe you'll be finding out, Jason, why they changed the name from plovers to lapwings in the very near future. But let's go back to Sydney in South Africa.
So we are checking now around the Buffers Hook area. I'm just gonna pass by the Buffers Hook Dam. I am right now on the Buffers Hook cut line. Maybe we might be lucky this side, but it is raining a little bit harder here where I am. and I can see more rain still coming from far. Very difficult to see the animals this morning. So the impalas as well, they are now starting to collect each other, and they are feeding very close to each other, those who are feeding. Maybe some of the predators do take advantage of this kind of weather. Some hyena tracks, but they're not fresh. It was before the rain. It will be great if we see any. I didn't copy that question nicely. Yes, Jonah, these animals are so crazy about the rain. At one stage, I have seen a leopard doing a hunt during the rain. It does happen sometimes. They do use advantage of bad weather. This rain, it sounds so as I am, and I can see from far now that more rain is still coming this way, and it looks much heavier on a distance than here where I am. So now let's cross over to the Masai Mara, where David is heading to the river.
Well, sorry about my friends having that difficult weather there, but so far for me, I would say so good, and still enjoying everything possible at the moment. Damo, so keep going, so friends of mine, and looking for animals, and those are the type of vehicles that we always stay on the big road, and they never take a chance to get off the road because they could very easily get stuck. Well, those wildebeest went very close to the river, and then they just stopped and they did not cross, so that I'm going to leave them behind and move on and just drive along the river and chance and see whether I might see others that want to cross the river. Okay, I haven't seen crocs. I would have guessed by now the crocs would be out of the water because it's still very cold. And there's one particular spot I want to check and see if there could be any out of the water. This is one area in general when we come. It's what we call one of the main crossings. During the migration, we have always come here and, stayed for a couple of hours. And on good days, we would see like hundreds, if not thousands of wildebeest crossing this particular area I am at the moment. Water levels have gone up, in the river. It's pretty good news for me. I'm very happy for that. We were just getting a bit worried the other day of what would happen if the levels went so low and then, water wasn't there for animals like hippos. And there's a white stock here in the water, and let's see if we're going to see any movement of a croc or anything else. The only thing I can see at the moment is a white stock. Not sure that's the best place for it to be feeding on, because I have always known them to use their feet to sense for any food under the water. So from that point is a bit tricky. Yeah, oops, don't lose your balance, because the water might you might drown. But they got very long legs, so they got good balance, and M says lovely from the final control. I mean, we rarely see these birds in such an area. Well, I mean, they will always be there, but they tend to prefer more of water ponds, you know, water that's not moving. And to me, they get better chances of feeding, because here I think she's just chancing more of, you see how she's moving her feet, because her feet got sensors or like feelers, and that's what they use to, you know, prey. And the moment they feel some food under their feet, they'll just shoot their beaks like spears. You see what they do there? And then they grab it. Yeah, that's pretty cool, eh? Very clever birds, and how Mother Nature have designed some of these birds. Well, she got two advantages here: very long feet, and also she got a very long beak. So she has to keep opening her wings to keep her balance, because I'm sure as much as it's very small surface area of the water flowing on her feet, she has to be careful because it's very rocky there, and the base or the bottom of the river is not even. So a slight mistake, she'll tip over, and I can tell you she might be washed down to Lake Victoria. The origin of this river that we call the Mara River is somewhere in the Rift Valley of Kenya, in a place called the Mau Escarpment, and could be about 200 miles or so long, and it drains its water in Lake Victoria, which is the largest lake in Africa. In the background there you can hear some lapwings. Could be the same crown lapwings I was watching before. I hope, Jason, you can still hear them. How beautiful to have that stock in the water there. Sometimes you have also called this white stock the wooded stock. And wooded stock, if you look at the color, oops, did you fly away? If you look at the color of her beak, it's yellow like wood, so sometimes we call her wood stock. And if I was where she is, I would be enjoying the waterfalls more than eating, because from here I can just hear the water falling. Definitely she's getting herself some food. Not the best place, as I said earlier, for her to be feeding. And of course they feed on all invertebrates you might think of. Anything like, you know, fish, any frog, any crustacean in the water. During safari, I'm giving this bird to be about 2.5 feet. That's the height, 2.5 feet, just about. And she got something there for herself. That's like an average height of a white stock. That's a fully grown one. Or sometimes to be going to about 2 feet. Well, keep eating. We're gonna keep moving and keep driving along the river. I didn't see even one croc. I'm surprised where the crocs are. They should be out because it's rather cold in the water. This is one area I have never missed a croc at any one time. I am here wondering why they don't want to come out. Get some nice herd of hippos here. Got some hippos there. Bring me that question again from Gary. I'm sorry. Loads of hippos in the water here. There's a question from Gary I might have missed there. And they're all remaining. Gary, very good question there. And do stocks use their feet to dislodge, you know, the food from under the water? What they do, the feet have very special sensors, and what they will always do is to, oops, there's a very big jump from that hippo there. That's a youngster there, just having some playtime. So Gary, what they'll do, they'll push in their feet in the water, and their feet, under their feet, they got sensors or fillers. And of course, once they push their feet in the water, whatever it's under there, be it a frog, be it a fish, any crustacean you may think of, Gary, of course it will feel offended and feel, disturbed and invaded, and then it will start to move. And the moment it moves, that's when the stock will pick it up. And once it picks up, it just drives or shoots its beak there and pick it up. So they do not use their feet basically to grab anything, but of course they might dislodge the prey and move it a little bit to make it easier for the stock to get the beak to the right place. Birds that we have seen using their feet just, to kill their prey are birds like the secretary bird. Once they locate their prey, they'll use their feet to kill it. But I think the storks, once they use the sensors, they might push a little bit in their feet to move the prey or dislodge it from where it is, and then the stork will just shoot using their beak to get the prey. Well, the hippos here under the water, they might remain here for the rest of the day. And that's a sacred ibis there, maybe? Yes, that's a sacred ibis. And you see very different feeding habit from the stork. Sorry, Romet asked something I also missed. The sacred ibis is just feeding on the edge of the water, unlike the stork that is feeding inside the water. Romet, I'm thinking of diseases that affect hippos as we watch that Egyptian goose there. Romet, I have no idea. I do not know what diseases would affect hippos. I mean, they have been known to live in water like the rest, the better part of the day, only coming out of night. So I wouldn't say pneumonia. That one doesn't maybe sound possible to me. What diseases? I have no idea, Romet. I'm sorry. I might be finding out for you. Totally, I have no idea what diseases would be affecting hippos. Trying to think, maybe cataract? No, and anytime I see a dead hippo, we have never gotten a proper post-mortem to know what might have killed it. And I'll be trying to remember and maybe finding out. I'll be asking Steve or Sydney whether they would be knowing of any disease that would be affecting hippos. Tuberculosis? Maybe, maybe not. And how they get or how they catch tuberculosis? Not really, because tuberculosis, if it's found in certain, say, animals like buffaloes, which will always affect buffaloes once in a while. We have always known lions getting also TB, having eaten maybe buffaloes that had the same disease. But for hippos being, herbivores, I highly doubt. I have no idea what diseases hippos would get. A few weeks ago, we would not see the waterfalls that you're seeing there because the water levels were very low. But I'm very happy now. We can hear the waterfalls, we can see it, and you can see all the birds coming back in the water to feed. And I'm sure the hippos are equally chuffed by this, because hippos without water, they are gone. We had like 12 or 14 years ago when it was very dry here in the Mara, and the river almost completely became dry, and you'd see like 100 hippos on one very small corner where small amounts of water was left. And as such, I would say yes, hippos will drink this water. All the animals will drink this same water. And also people, the local people will also drink the same water. And I think every animal, every human being have a different. And also human beings will drink the same water. We have different immunities, or people will get used to different bacteria of the water. The stock still keep fishing, getting lots of food here, hasn't left the water. And sometimes if you get crustaceans which cannot hold for themselves and they're being brought down by the water, maybe that's what she's taking advantage of. So this is the water we'll always come and fetch from our villages in the mornings and later in the evenings. And I'm sure people from the nearby villages are very happy now that the levels are back. Hippos, no movement, just enjoying putting the head on top of the other. Well, hippos have a great day, and I think Sydney is breathing a bit of peace now because the rains are not as heavy as they were before.
I am now still on a hunt, on a search for the spotted cats. At least the rain is much better now. So it's just coming and going, but now for the past 3 minutes is much better. Or maybe it's the direction I have taken now of coming much more towards the northeastern part of the game reserve. Maybe it's still raining on the other parts of the game reserve. So the problem is I cannot see far because of the tent. You want to see leopard during the rain. So it will be something very special to see a leopard during the rain. So where I am now is an area where normally Tandy is doing her movements. Tingana fan. Something you mustn't forget is that my favorite cat in this area is Tingana. So what I found interesting about Djuma is the leopard sightings. The leopard sightings here in Djuma, they are phenomenal. And that is something very special to me because leopards in most places here in South Africa can be so very much shy. But here, interaction with the leopards is very good. I love leopards. So all the tracks I'm going to find on the road now, the visible tracks, it means all they are fresh. So now let's quickly go back to Steve, who is in the tent.
We are in the tent. We have survived the storm. The thunder and lightning was all around us at one point, so we came all the way back to camp, and we've set up the tent due to the fact that the lightning can be quite dangerous when you're out there in a vehicle with a big metal rod on the back. And as we got all the way back to camp, things seem to have passed by. But we are here now. We are in the tent, and while we can show you on the screen the weather system that is busy happening right over in the Indian Ocean. And if we have a look over here, you can actually see the African continent quite easily. You can see it over here, Madagascar off to the east, and here in the ocean is two big cyclones happening out in the middle of the ocean. That one looks quite nasty, much further towards the east, towards India, but you see how the cycle is causing the rainfall you're seeing up in the Mara, up in the top here, and then it's also creating this enormous amount of weather that's coming in here on the eastern side. In South Africa, this is what happens in the summer months. This cyclone sort of event and the moisture evaporating in the ocean provides all of the rainfall that we get. It's why we have a summer rainfall in the savanna biome. And well, we're seeing a little bit of that now, which is quite nice to see from a bit of an aerial satellite, isn't it? Very good. But what I have found on the desk, and quite nice to have a look at it, maybe we can go and have a look at the microscope, because on the microscope we have got what looks to be, I'm just going to move my phone. There we go. It is the dung ball of a gecko. So quite easy to see. Reptiles have got that little white little ball on the end. That's the uric acid. They are very well adapted to keeping as much moisture inside. Ooh, I probably should be pushing off one of those buttons. Hey, Dave. I don't know which one. Menu. Oopsie. Oh, okay. Well, we're looking at the dung ball. So the white, the uric acid on the scat itself. Oh, I'm just trying to get off that screen there. James did show me once, and I've forgotten. I've forgotten how to turn it off. That is not it. Picture error. I do apologize. The bottom, there we go. We have done it. The bottom button has taken it off. Let's go back to the microscope. And now you can see there's that white ball, which is uric acid. Most reptiles, frogs, birds, they excrete uric acid. It all comes out of one hole. They've only got one hole, the cloaca, and that is why they urinate and defecate out of the same hole. And that uric acid is very highly concentrated, and that is to absorb as much moisture back into the system while only giving out uric acid. We have a lot of urea in our urine, and a lot of water is wasted, whereas most reptiles, frogs and the like, birds, they absorb all that moisture to save them having to drink as much as we do. But the rest of the ball that you can see, the brown chunk, which is quite small to the naked eye, but with the microscope we can get right in there. You can see little bits and pieces of insect. There's little bits of wing and carapace, and basically insects that the gecko no doubt has been catching in and around some of light sources, or you find many geckos living inside houses, lizards as well living inside houses, catching the prolific amounts of insects that move in and out. And there you can see how they've processed it. Obviously geckos and most lizards don't necessarily need to drink, because they get lots of the moisture from the insect diet that they have. And this very nice little ball is a good indication of a small lizard. So very nice to see. And David was talking about diseases in hippos, and I'm not too familiar with too many of the diseases that hippos have. I'm sure there are a number of them, but I do know that we have had many incidences in the past of hippos dying of anthrax, and anthrax is something that really regulates the populations of certain prey animals, kudu, impala, hippo, which I said. And last case a couple of years ago, might have even been last year, over 2,000 hippos actually died in the Kruger National Park of anthrax, because in drought conditions what happens is the spores generally come up more in the soil, and they can be fed upon and eaten, and they are transferred through saliva. That's why kudu and impala are able to get it. Hippo, they get it obviously while they walk through the same sort of feeding grounds, and the saliva from their mouth, they don't have the best ability to hold the saliva inside, so some of it dripping out into the grass. No doubt that's how it is transferred. And well, one of the diseases that definitely do affect hippo and other animals. But we'll maybe do another Google search and see if we can find any of the other diseases that do affect hippos across the world. Niconico view, you want to know the difference between a gecko and a newt? I've no idea. A newt is also a lizard type animal, and a gecko, I have no idea. I've never seen a newt. Maybe a newt, I have no idea. I'll have a look. I'll have a look on the internet and see if I can find something, but I don't think you get newts in South Africa that I'm aware of. And if you do, well, they've eluded me for my entire career, so I'll have to have a little investigation and see. But maybe we can go and have a little look-see outside, Darby, and show everybody what it looks like. We've had some nice moisture. You can see that I'm wearing my jacket now. The frogs are starting to call. The birds are starting to call. The rain has abated. And unfortunately, we haven't had that much rain. If I had to dig right over here, we probably wouldn't find the moisture getting too far. But this kind of rain, this short dampening rain, actually quite beneficial for the grasses. It probably won't seep through it all to the ground surface water where the trees have access, but it'll just to the shallowness of the roots of the grasses. So if this goes on for a few more hours or another day, really we'll see this huge sprout of grasses in the next few days. Puma, you are saying that newts are amphibians. Oh, very good. Okay, I'm not sure if we get any of them in South Africa. I have heard the name before, and they do come up on the classification to the chart, but I've never really delved too far in to the newt story itself. But it is a beautiful morning out here. The thunder and lightning was coming from the south, and we've heard it move all the way across us here. And it actually is still very quite foreboding. You can still hear some lightning in the distance. You might not be able to, but it is still cracking and moving, and there is still lots of rain falling in the low veld. But unfortunately, we're not getting too much of it. But hopefully it'll move in. There's a huge system moving from the south, and that is the currents coming in off of the Indian Ocean. But connected to the Indian Ocean all the way up in the Masai Mara, or should I say Kenya, is connected. They get a very similar system to what we have. David is with some spotted hyena.
Well, yeah, these are things that when it rains that we'll always see out here, and Steve is absolutely right. And I think he is also correct when he talks of hippos getting diseases like anthrax. I had forgotten about anthrax. And luckily, in East Africa, I do not remember having seen any hippo getting affected by anthrax. But yes, anthrax is a very possible candidate as a disease that would hit the hippos. Well, not sure what diseases would hit hyenas. I'd also be happy to hear from Steve and Sydney what diseases hyenas get, because from what they eat and the things they do, it's just unbelievable. I do not know how long this carcass has been here. It must have been ahead of a wildebeest, or what used to be a wildebeest. It had all the moth or the flies you'd think of, or any insect that would have just come there. But I think the hyenas got the best digestive system. They can contain anything in their tummies. And again, as I said, with the wildebeest having gone now, it's time for the hyenas to scavenge. As much as they get a lot of food on their own, these particular two, one is scavenging and the other one is having a nap. I'm not sure what this carcass was. And apart from hyenas, also vultures do scavenge. You've got hyenas one side, and those vultures also scavenging on something. They look to me like the lappet fist, not very sure from a distance. And two tommies to the right, and a toppy in the background there. What a beautiful setting to have 2-3 different species, all doing different things, all in one shot. Hyenas on one side, scavenging on that skin. Joy, how are you, and how is Hong Kong? And always a pleasure to hear your name. Joy, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm guessing this would have been a carcass of what was a wildebeest. The migration just left, and what the lions have been doing were just to, bringing down one wildebeest after the other. And to me it looks like a young, it doesn't look like it was a fully grown wildebeest. So Joy, my guess is this was a wildebeest, because to the left we saw the other hyena was pulling up a skull of what looked like, the skull is still there. So it got horns. Definitely it's not a zebra. It must be some type of antelope. And from the shape of that horn that you can see from here, not very sure, I would guess Joy, this was a wildebeest. And now it's time to scavenge for the hyenas. They still have a lot to feed on. Yeah, it must be a wildebeest. Joy now 100%. I can see it from the beards. If you look carefully, Joy, you can also see you got some beards hanging there on the chin. This was a wildebeest now 100%. I had my first initial guess because of the shape of the horn, but now seeing the beards on the chin tells me 100% that this was a wildebeest. Not sure why this one here is not bothered to eat, unless both of them have a particular ranking, and of two, this one ranks much higher than the other one. So once she is full, then maybe the rest, or the other one will join on the party. The one is pulling up the other skull moved near the vultures. Not sure she has pushed the vultures away from their kill. I think that's exactly what she did. You see that, Joy? And of course, by virtue of the hyenas being bigger in size, the vultures had to give in. That's the pecking order here. If you see them on a kill in general, and you have a few scavengers, be they jackals, hyenas, or vultures, hyenas always come top on the pecking order. Then vultures maybe, and sometimes the jackals. So these two are what we call the Nubian or the lappet-faced vultures, and they're the largest and the strongest vultures we got in Africa. And they always go in pairs, a male and a female, unlike the other vultures we will see them going in huge groups or big flocks. This must have been maybe another wildebeest this hyena is feeding on. But again, as I said, as much as they do scavenge, most of the food the hyenas get for themselves. Dory, good comment there. Maybe after, she is full and she is very well fed, she would use that horn as a toothpick. I would imagine instead of maybe using it as a toothpick, it might knock down or it might knock out one of its tooth. But I'll tell you, Dory, I'm sure you know, hyenas have the strongest teeth that I know of and very good pressure. I think that's PDI or something, and they have the strongest pressure on their muscles. Should they decide to grab or to grasp something, they easily crush anything you might think of. So after a few days, Dory, even this, horn that you see here, they might come and get the keratin, or rather the keratin on top of it, and just clean everything. Hyenas will basically almost finish all what you see out here. The only thing sometimes they leave behind are the horns, but the skin, or the beards you see there, the soft bones, sometimes even the hard ones, they just crush them and just eat them. This, I would guess, is a member of the North Clan, because we are about, 3 miles away from the North Clan. So I think this could be one of the members of the North Clan of hyenas. The only thing I'm trying to remember the hyenas will not eat. Right, I agree with you, yes, these hyenas have no table manners, you're just pulling it up, down, up, and the other one is not eating. And I'm trying to remember the only other part of the carcasses out here that the hyenas will not eat, and I think it's only the teeth. But the skin, the bones, the horns, all that, the hooves, they just crush, and it's a very easy piece of work for them to clear. What I've always seen in particular carcasses left behind by hyenas are only the teeth of the particular animals. Anything else, they're able to deal with very comfortably. This one keeps waking up doing nothing. Did the hyena go and left the vultures too on their feet? Yes, I think they did. So these are very strong vultures. And maybe these could be different ones. This now looks like the African white-backed vultures. And just notice how close the Tommy is, and he is not being bothered by those vultures there, and the Tommy in the background there. Feels so good, so fresh. With the rains having stopped, everything smells so good. And Tommy, where are you going? Hopefully you don't want to share with them. Definitely you are a vegetarian. Alana, very good comment, because without the hyenas it would be a very different ballgame here in the savannah. And I've always called them, the garbage collectors, but actually that's not a very fair term or name for the hyenas, because what they do is very important. You'd, Alana, imagine us without the hyenas, or us here without the vultures. The smell, the stench would be a nightmare, and I would imagine there could be so much diseases affecting the same herbivores that the lions would be going for, which I would say in turn the same diseases would affect the lions and maybe unfortunately us. Look at that, pulling its carcass up. Where are you taking it now? What did you decide to do? Well, you can take it maybe to some safe place, or do you want to go and dip it in water to make it a little bit soft? Just thinking. Are you taking it to the den? Who knows? It's possible. And what would happen is, if she's a low-ranking hyena, she would definitely be instructed by the females to take the food back home. The North Clan have one commander that we call the Wafos, and as we've got some ladies who have been researching on these hyenas, and the other day they told us they think that Wafos' granddaughter called Soup might be overthrowing the grandmother. Who knows? And if that happens, then Wafos will have lost her reign, having commanded these hyenas for such a long time. Waffles fought her way through up to the top rank, unlike other hyenas which will always go through the lineage to get to the top. I guess she must be taking that carcass back to the den. That's my thinking, because she has passed so many puddles of water where I would have expected her to put it in to soften it or to marinate it. My guess is she's taking it back to the den, and if she is taking it to the Waffles den. Quite a long way, maybe 2+ miles she has to walk. Alright, do you want to have a break? Or do you want to put it in water? I might have guessed right initially, and the whole idea is to put it in that pan of water, and of course to be able to marinate or soften it, and it will make its life much easier while feeding on it. Remember, our drive very interactive. Should you have any questions or any comments, keep sending them through #SafariLive on Twitter. Well, as I said, she has put it there just to soften it, and you saw her splashing the water. And maybe what was left behind, this one now might pick it up and maybe also do the same like the other one. Well, Steve, I'm sure you're feeling much warmer there. Not sure you have had yourself a cup of coffee after having been hammered by rain in the tent.
We are quite warm, actually, in fact, in the tent, David. Well done for all your interesting information and for holding the show for so long while we've been all wet and rained on. But we've been investigating newts, and newts, a lot of them occur in North America, and they are indeed amphibians. Geckos and lizards, for example, have very similar habitats to newts. A lot of them are land-based as well, but being amphibian, they do go in and out of the water. And major difference being that some of them are poisonous if they get ingested, and they lay their eggs in the water like a frog does. We don't have any tail-like frogs in South Africa. The Anura, none of them have tails. They're born as tadpoles with small tails, but as they become adults, they lose their tail. So it's quite a unique thing that we have. No newts. So lizards and geckos, they lay their eggs on land, newts in the water. So, Nico, I hope that's answered your question. They do look quite similar, and some people can get quite confused between them. But lizards have a rough sort of skin, a rough sort of leathery skin, and newts, being amphibian, have sort of a warty, sort of softer skin, which is permeable to water. So being a frog, they're able to survive in those environments. And they love the rain. As soon as the rain comes out, those individuals are out and about doing their thing, whereas geckos are pretty much around all the time and constantly snacking on insects. Both of them obviously feed on similar sort of diet. But anyway, yesterday, folks, I tried to deliver the answer to Tracking Tuesday. It was horrible because we were using this camera out in the bush with a small phone. That was, as you can see, it's reflecting quite badly, but we've pulled it up on the computer, and we're going to run through the answers again from yesterday so that you can all be correct in what you knew and what you didn't understand completely. So let's jump over to this screen. Dave is going to show it. We've got Instagram on the television, and I'm going to use the mouse. No, I'm not going to use the mouse. The mouse is not very clear. I'm going to use my finger instead. But the Leatherman, which you can see on the side here, is very easily to work out size. That is a good 10 centimeters. 10 centimeters is the sort of size of a leopard track. And if this, and it's clearly a scent marking, you can clearly see over here that there's a scratching mark on the ground. On this side as well, there's another scratching mark. And at the back over here, it's very wet and moist, which means that something has scent marked here. Now, a rhino has got a very big foot. A rhino has got feet that are over 30, up to 30 centimeters. So 3 of those, Leatherman, to get your rhinoceros. So you can imagine how big this track would have to be, not only lengthways but widthways, to be able to be a rhino. It's almost like a small, what would you say, a small 4-wheel drive go-kart has come through. That is what a rhino would look like. But a leopard would be much smaller. And if you have a look over here, Right, and over here is actually the track. I might maybe want to use something a little bit more descriptive. Maybe, is the mouse actually going to work there, Davy? Let's have a look. The mouse is working. Okay, can you see this track over here? There is the back pad, and there's actually 3 lobes in the back pad there. Here the pad goes around, and here is the toes. There's one toe, there's another toe over there, and these other toes aren't that clear. And over here is another lion track. Over there, I'm just going to circle it here, the toes again. So where the lion has done, the 2 back feet have been scratching back like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, urine spray, feet standing, and then the animal walks away. So very big for a leopard, but very similar to a leopard. It would just be similar in size. Or it would be the same sort of size as that Leatherman, whereas those tracks are bigger than the Leatherman, which is quite easy to identify it as a lion track. So the lion track with the scent marking, happy days. Okay, so if you did get it wrong, that's okay. We are learning, and over the coming weeks, over the coming months, we will spend lots of time out there detailing the sizes and the scent marks and the tracks of all these animals. And always remember to look at the reference of size. Size is so important. If I put a genet track and a civet track together, it would be impossible for you to know the difference in a photograph due to the size. But with a ruler or some measurement, it's very, very easy. So that often is the difference between a track, is just a few centimeters. Very good. Well, we did manage to find ourselves a leopard this morning. Unfortunately, it's a very slow moving leopard, and it is in the tent, and it is one of our favorites, Horatio. Horatio the leopard. Wherefore art thou, Horatio? So we've managed to find ourselves a cat this morning. Unfortunately, it is well past its expiry date, but look at those canines. If you have never seen a leopard skull before, this is a relatively sort of average size leopard skull, but have a look at those canines, and the primary objective of those is to cut off the airflow of an animal. There's a bit of ripping potential as well in there when they feed, but it's to cut off the airflow and to suffocate an animal. When you're a solitary hunter like a leopard, you need to kill an animal silently. You can't do what David's hyena have done and make lots of noise and allow the animal to scream and shout, because, well, other predators are going to come in. So very important for lion, cheetah and cats, essentially, when they kill, to be able to cut off the airflow in the teeth, with the teeth there. So the canines are not the deciding factor that make a predator a canine. These teeth on the side here, in fact, are exactly that. These are called the carnassial shear, and these teeth are designed for cutting and tearing. And you'll often see, if you've ever had a dog at home, the dog often eats the bone with the side of its mouth, doesn't it? That's the bones that are designed for cutting and tearing and crushing, and these are designed for severing through sinew, bone, and flesh, as well as obviously any hide that there might be. So you'll often see lions, leopards, dogs using those side teeth. We've got molars there. Our teeth are designed for eating nuts and breaking down fruits and all sorts of things like that. So from Horatio, the leopard skull, Dave and I are going to see if we can find something else to talk about, but let's see if Sydney has found himself a real leopard.
I am looking for the live leopard here. Maybe we might be lucky. I am now going again towards the tree house dam. Maybe our luck is on that side. Yeah, the rain has stopped now completely. When looking for a leopard, everything which shapes like a leopard confuses. A lot of stump and some of the termite mound. When these termites are now extending, to me it looks like a leopard. I miss the leopards a lot. So I'm sure if the leopards are hiding now, it's time for them to come out because it is fine now, no rain at all. Now the leopards, they are not very much interested on water. That's why some of these animals are so clever, and they sometimes run onto the water hole knowing that these kinds of animals can be reluctant to the water. But they do get in and catch a prey from the water hole. But they don't like to be in the water holes and swim every time. It is a good time for these predators to hunt after the rain. On the ground you will see the predators, they've got the claws they're using to grab the ground. You will see when they're chasing each other now after the rain, the prey animals digs and the predator, you will see the claw marks on the ground. I'm just trying to check this road here. When it's raining, the predators, some of them, they come out during the rain, and some they wait until the rain has gone past. Leopards is the ones that I have seen a lot during the rain doing some hunt. But lions, when it's raining, I haven't seen them yet hunting. But after the rain, you will see them walking. Maybe that is motivated by what is in the stomach. When it's too hard for them to find something, they can just try at any time. So now let's cross over to Steve, who is having something by the tent.
Yes, thanks, Sydney. We found a little caterpillar outside. He's now obviously deciding that he would like to be out of the frame. Quite incredible how little he is. Let me just move him back into frame there for you. I went outside to look for an insect because it's always marvelous looking at insects under this microscope. And you can see it's on an apple leaf. Amazing how hairy the leaf is, in fact, and how much moisture. Sorry, it's very difficult to maneuver this guy. He is really playing hard to get. Come on, fella. Sorry, folks. There he is on the edge. Isn't he pretty? Oh, have a look at how small he is. There we go. Look at that. What a shot, Darby. You can see him compared to the gecko dung there. Very, very small, but with the beautiful lens that David's got there. And now he is making a run for it. He's making a run for it. Beautiful little spots. I'm sure there are entomologists out there that would probably be able to identify the species. It's most likely a butterfly by the caterpillar that it is moving through. But often you will find specific caterpillars associated with specific trees. And I don't know if this is a specific caterpillar to the apple leaf tree, but often you will find specific caterpillars or butterflies, moths, laying their eggs on trees, which we often refer to as their larval food. Sort of a tree that they really, really do prefer. I mean, you find it all over sort of the fruiting industry, where there are specific parasites or pests in the form of caterpillars that affect this citrus tree or that banana tree or whatever it might be. And it's just basically their adaptation to being out here in the wild. And most of the birds that we have migrating in, sorry, it's a bit dusty there, we have migrating in to this area are coming here for the caterpillars and the insects. Joe, what a curious creature indeed. And can you believe that that thing will transform and metamorphosize into a beautiful little butterfly-like creature? Starting off as just a little grub, but a very important food source. First of all, they feed on the leaves of trees, maybe on fruits as well. So they limit the growth that trees can actually have. Sometimes you can find trees completely without leaves due to huge influx of caterpillars. Obviously, they then will metamorphosize into a butterfly, which then provides pollination services for many, many flowers and fruits, or fruiting plants out there. But all the insect-eating birds that we have flying down from Europe, flying down from Africa, North Africa, the cuckoos specifically, they love caterpillars. That is exactly what they're here for. And you find all these feeding strategies of birds jumping through trees and doing what we call gleaning. I just went and gleaned a caterpillar off the tree, and you'll have birds that will run around with inside the branches, picking off all these very camouflaged little fellows. Lyndon Cleaner, an inchworm? I don't know if it is an inchworm. I don't know. I really don't know how to identify these little guys, but let's try to put him back underneath the microscope. He is really moving with some haste this morning. Such an interesting pattern of movement that they have, don't they? There he goes. Come on, start eating. You can see that the apple leaf there has been eaten just where he's moved across. And it's been eaten by some form of caterpillar-like animal. But it amazes me how hairy, in fact, the apple leaf is. And for holding the moisture as well. Just trying to regain the focus. Sorry, he is not trying to... He's really trying to get out of frame today. There we go. All those beautiful little spots. Well, if anybody out there knows what species this is, please feel free to send through your comment on #SafariLive. We'd love to know if you know your caterpillars. I definitely need some brushing up on them. When they come into butterflies, it's much easier to identify. There's no real book out there going caterpillars. Sometimes you can find certain caterpillars with certain moths and butterflies, but it's quite tricky. It really is a world of knowledge. But anyway, we are going to probably close down the tent shortly. We are blessed for the rain and the cool morning that we are going to experience, which we're very excited about. But in the meantime, David, up in the Mara, where the rain has also ceased, is going to be saying goodbye.
Well, Steve, stay put in that tent and don't go out as yet. And if you go, I'm sure you know how to go out later. Have your poncho, have your rain covers, and be very prepared, because what we have learned is that this weather could be very unpredictable. Just like we say, when you go out here in the bush, you never know what we see. Personally, I have learned since the last few weeks to come out prepared, and I want to show you one of my best gears that I've learned. Apart from the Masai shuka that keeps me warm, I also have a very nice raincoat, which is that one. It takes care of me that I do not get rained on, because when the rains get here, or when the rains get you here in Africa, sometimes they are very big. But also there's something else that I have discovered that I also want to show you. Should I come out of the car and we get stuck on my foot, and I'm sure Archie knows, I want to show you what I've been wearing, and you can see that very special boot that looks like a zebra. I'm not sure what kind of zebra to call it, and I'm not sure if it's a male or a female. And the two, I have a pair, and I've been trying to count the stripes, the black or the white, wondering how many they are. I'm not sure it's a male or a female on that particular boot. I don't know. Let me see if Arch zooms in it much closer, and I will be able to. Is this a bachelor one, or is it a grave zebra? Well, this boot helps me a lot when it rains, and if I need to. Well, I was talking about a leopard, but let's go back to Sydney very quickly because he got something very exciting.
Look at that. See what he's doing. This is a lovely sighting. Look at that. We are so very lucky. We managed to find one of these spotted cats here just before we finish. I'm just going to pull forward so that we can have a better sighting after such a very long search. So now we are going to extend the show for a couple of seconds so that we can see the beautiful leopard. Last minute Tingana. Look at that. This is a lovely sighting. He is looking very healthy. And he doesn't have much in the stomach, but this is beautiful. He is patrolling his territory. I can see he is busy demarcating and renewing the scent and looking at what is happening. Maybe also looking for the food at the same time. And this is a gorgeous sighting. I haven't seen him for quite a long time. I'm so happy to find him now. And he still is at the same place where we saw the tracks going in this morning. Was hiding somewhere here. Karen, this is my favorite leopard, and I'm glad that it's looking very healthy. Look at that. So he is marking and renewing the scent all the time by these trees. You can hear the small birds are now becoming vocal against him. And the rain is coming back. So this is something very special. We haven't seen a leopard for a couple of days now. Yeah, he likes humor better when he's green. Look at that. And Tingana is now bringing us to the end of the show. And thank you very, very much for all your questions and comments. We are going to be with you again this afternoon. Look at that. It was a privilege having you as part of our guest, and let's meet again in the afternoon.